newsworthy item for our market. I don't know if that's NFL related.
I don't care about the NFL. Right now, I just care about Caitlin Clark until Sunday afternoon when the Colts show up.
Yeah, the way you phrased it, I got a little confused there for a second.
Because they dumped the news in the middle of the NFL kickoff is what they did.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that was certainly a unique time to put it out there, but finally got confirmation from her and the team, and obviously I feel for Caitlin Clark. I believe that might be their 5th season-ending injury, not counting the coach who also ruptured his Achilles, but it's just one of those things where I hope we look back years from now and we can say this was just a lost season, a blip on the radar. You know, it does happen occasionally with stars. I mean, you look at, speaking of football, look at the career of like Tom Brady, for example. He missed a year due to a knee injury, and we look up again and don't even think about that season. So tough break for her, and I just feel for her mentally because I know she wanted to come back. She was trying to come back, and with her, it's different because when she misses time, it's not like, for example, when Nafisia Collier missed a couple weeks because of an ankle. Yes, Nafisia Collier is a star. People come to see her play, but not to the level of Caitlin Clark where you are just this mega superstar Taylor Swift type figure in the sport, and to not deliver for those people who probably bought tickets way in advance, I'm sure that weighs on her mind, but I'm glad that she's putting her obvious, health at the forefront. And again, I just wish her a speedy recovery. And, I don't want to rush through football season, but I am looking forward to next summer when she's back out there healthy. And in a way, I think it'll be a good way to perhaps put some revenge out there next season and remind people of how good she is when she's at the top of her game.
Kevin Bowen, what was going through your mind when you saw that social post for the first time last night?
I thought the whole thing was kind of odd, to be honest with you. I just feel like the answers have been lacking clarity. There is a part of me that's like, was there not a little bit more of a forthcoming that could have happened earlier in defining, hey, she's going to miss X amount of time. So, these updates were never very like, she's going to be out a week or two. I mean, she ended up missing the last 2 months of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think there could have been a little fair warning to fans out there, to James's point, that spend an insane amount of money and time in trying to book around a Caitlin Clark game, home and away, for that.
Do you think they had a factor at all?
Say it again?
Do you think they had a factor at all? Just her being at the level of star she is, and what it means not only for the Fever, but for like the league?
I usually don't play like conspiracy theory guy, but it's just weird, I mean, how many injuries that happened, 2 months ago turned into, this long of an absence? And for what it's worth, how much of that bone bruise in Phoenix a couple weeks ago, how much of that kind of reset things in a negative sort of direction?
And even that was weird because Scott Agnes broke the story for Fieldhouse Files, and then they put out a statement. But usually, doing this long enough, teams will announce this person, this player X, had a setback throughout their rehab, and they'll just announce it officially rather than kind of reverse engineering how they went about that. I thought that was weird too.
Yeah, and the Fever tried to downplay it, saying it was not going to impact anything in her absence, yet here we are with her absence now being the whole season. And, if they get on any sort of playoff run, I mean, you're talking about, a 3-month absence with, how long the playoffs do last. So, obviously, this is a huge bummer. They've just been ravaged with injuries. And, yeah, just on the floor, a big bummer of a year. She didn't shoot the ball well, and obviously they had their, kind of roller coaster start with her in the lineup and the DeWanna Bonner situation, and some highs, some lows. So, again, you are looking to be a championship team at the start of the year, and unfortunately, injuries definitely played a part into, in all likelihood, that not happening.
Yeah, you just wonder how things stacked up on her body as the year went on. She started missing. Remember in the preseason, she had a strained quad. She kind of put that to the side because she wanted to play at Iowa in front of her, essentially her home crowd against Brazil. And I don't have any idea if that had any effect on anything moving forward or not. I saw somebody mention that in an article. I'm like, man, that's a big leap. But who knows? But then the quad strain turns into a groin strain, and then the other groin gets injured, and that's where we're at today. And then there was the bone bruise to the ankle in the middle of all that. And it just sounds like she was never right the entire time. For somebody who shoots as dead-eye as she does to average 37% for the year, I just don't think she was ever at any point this season right, is what it looks like, James.
Yeah, and honestly, I go back to the season opener. Triple-double, 20, 10, and 10. She looked amazing, and they blew out the sky. You're thinking, oh, my gosh, your second season, you're already dropping triple-doubles, which keep in mind they're playing a 40-minute game versus a 48-minute game in the NBA. And to look up months from that game to now, you missing so much time is disappointing. I didn't realize that, the last home game she played, which I attended and covered, would be in July. That's a tough break for her. But again, I understand why she doesn't want to, push it or hurt herself, because it looks like now, as far as the overall team outlook, that they're going to get into the playoffs. They've gotten some help over the last couple of days, but we'll see Caitlin Clark again in 2026.
Well, they still have two really, really good players right now that they're going to be leaning on throughout any push to the playoffs here and anything they do in the first round in Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. They're terrific. So maybe with some clarity, the team just rallies and goes. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I expect them to lose fairly early in the playoffs, I'll be honest with you. But at the same time, they're not going to lay down to anybody, and they've shown some resiliency all year. And like you said, a lot of pride on that team, still a lot of talent on that team. But obviously, Caitlin Clark is what kind of makes them go, I would think, to another level. And without her, that's a big, big loss to kind of overcome. But they've been playing without her for so long that at this point, you're probably used to your rotations, used to what everyone's role is without her. And now it's about, can you, shock the world in round one, which I think, again, is a tall task. If you get in the A spot, your prize for that most likely is to face, I believe, the Lynx, right? Who was the number one seed in the league. Mm-hmm. Good luck with that.
And as far as the NFL getting underway last night, Thursday night game, Philadelphia at home, big ceremony right before the game. Everybody's fired up. They had, was it Boys to Men singing right before the game last night? That was going on. The light show, everything else. And then the kickoff happens, and Jalen Carter coming onto the field immediately gets ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott while they're wheeling a member of the special teams for Philadelphia off the field on a cart. And with that, we were off and running with the 2025 NFL season, Kevin. That was the start.
Yeah, that was quite the scene. Shout out to Mike Tirico for giving a shout out to the Indy native ref, Brian Neal, in the ejection there. I did have to, only Tirico would make sure that we mentioned the ref's name for ejecting Jalen Carter. Tirico all over it last night. His nerdy kicker line later in the broadcast saying that now the K-balls are going to be allowed to be brought to the game, and field goal kickers might be kicking even longer field goals this year. Sums up why Mike Tirico is a legend. But yeah, I guess Dak Prescott spit in his huddle, he said after the game, and Jalen Carter thought he was spitting at him for some reason and decided to confront the Dallas huddle, and Dak Prescott walked out of the Dallas huddle. Next thing you know, loogie on Dak Prescott and Jalen Carter ejected. That was quite the start to the NFL season.
Yeah, and then the fireworks started. I mean, once the game got into football, both offenses were almost unstoppable until there was 4 minutes and 44 seconds to go in the third quarter. The lightning and the rain started, and they got them off the field for about an hour or so. And then no offense and a couple of key drops down the stretch for C.D. Lamb. And the next thing you know, the Eagles win by a score of 24-20. But up until, honestly, from just watching football on a standpoint, up until that weather delay, it was a fairly entertaining football game, James.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's, bad defense versus good defense versus the weather. I don't know. I always like the shootouts better, obviously, from an entertainment standpoint. When I'm covering the game, I'm like, keep the ball on the ground, run the ball, so I can get out of here fairly early. But going back to the Jalen Carter incident, so the NBC broadcast did show that Dak spit in the direction of the Philly players, towards the ground, which still obviously does not give you a license to spit on another person. So we can get into this after the break. But I would suspend him for a game. I'm dead serious. You spit on somebody, you show that you have absolutely zero class and zero restraint. So I would take another game check from him. And
So essentially that'd be a 2-game.
I would not care.
Penalty.
Don't care. That's how stupid that was and how disgusting it was.
Yeah, we'll talk about it all morning long. We got Operation Football with Channel 13 and Dominic Miranda coming up at the bottom of the hour. Some tasty little matchups coming this week. We'll tell you all about that. Lots to do there down to the championship round in the women's draw of the U.S. Open. We'll tell you about that coming up in a minute. The men are down to the semifinals, and we've got lots to talk about all morning long right here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning and welcome into the Fan Morning Show. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton. The big news locally, Caitlin Clark posting on social media last night that she will not play again in the 2025 season. She has missed nearly 20 straight games since last appearing on July 15th. The team still is in the thick of a playoff race, holding down the 8th and final playoff spot in the WNBA. They will play a home game tonight against Chicago, who will be playing without Angel Reese because she's been suspended for one game after her 8th technical foul the other night. Meanwhile, Stephanie White speaking generally about not only losing Caitlin Clark, but this is the 5th season-ending injury to a player for the Fever this year.
They've been in this situation. They understand what it takes, and oftentimes we talk about there's no substitute for experience, and most of the players on this roster have been through that now, and so understanding the sense of urgency that it's going to take.
That's Stephanie White again tonight, 7 o'clock. It'll be the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever. You'll hear it live right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Actually, pregame show with Eddie Garrison begins at 7:15, tip at 7:30 tonight. And James Boyd, how in the world do they haven't had Caitlin Clark for a while. They just keep soldiering on, but they do have 2 all-star caliber players to lean on.
Yeah, and the Chicago Sky stink, so beat them. Pretty simple.
All right, Kevin Bowen, you were talking about your reaction to the Caitlin Clark news last night. Is this just almost a lost season for the Fever, assuming that they can't make a terrific run in the postseason here?
Yeah, that's probably a way to look at it. And again, a lot of these, one-year deals, so we'll see exactly what next year looks like for, a couple members of their core there. But yeah, 13 of what it'll be, 44 games, I guess, for Caitlin Clark. And again, they that bone bruise there a couple weeks ago in Phoenix seems to have kind of been the final straw there with so many different injuries for Caitlin Clark this season. So, yeah, disappointing. But as James said, Chicago Sky are terrible. Fever favored by 14. So, a chance to try and take a step in the right direction to clinching one of those final playoff bursts tonight.
I thought the big news was going to be Chloe Bibby out for the season yesterday for the Fever. I thought that was going to be the big news story of the day for the Fever.
No, seriously.
Not so much.
Man.
Yeah, I'm like, they lost her too.
Yeah, it just keeps going and going and going. NFL season is underway. Last night, the Philadelphia Eagles with a 24-20 victory at home over the Dallas Cowboys as they celebrated winning the Super Bowl championship last year at the beginning of the game. And then the game was delayed. Well, it got crazy. If you're just joining us, Jalen Carter, their all-pro defensive lineman, before a single snap in the game, right after the kickoff, spitting on Dak Prescott right on his jersey and being ejected from the game. And you think that's not quite enough right now, James?
Yeah, I would suspend him for at least one game. I'm dead serious. That is disgusting. It is classless. Even hearing him after the game and seeing some of the Philly media say he took accountability. If that's taking accountability, I don't know what accountability is. He stood there and said a bunch of things, and I just feel like somebody should have asked him, why did you spit on him? And do you realize what you just did? Because a lot of it was, somebody asked him, how hyped were you for the game? And I'm like, what relevant is that? He didn't play. What are we doing? But continue.
Meanwhile, the Indianapolis Colts prepare for their season opener on Sunday afternoon over at Lucas Oil Field. Stadium, I should say. That one starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Our pregame coverage with the ride to kickoff in JMV begins your day at 9 a.m., and then the Colts will take over from 10 to 1. Greg Rakestraw will have the postgame. It's all right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good news is nothing major to report from practice yesterday, right?
No, again, all 53 once again practiced, 52 of them full, so a positive injury report continues for the Colts heading into week 1, and, by all accounts, it should be a great game. Vegas says this is one of the closest spreads of any here in week 1. I think there are some storylines we can dive deeper into throughout the show today, but I am just ready for Sunday. There's been so much on the offseason chatter meter. I am ready to see some actual football and how the Colts play this season.
All right, high school football back in action tonight, week 3 here in the state of Indiana. Couple of juicy little matches on the horizon here. I'm looking forward to seeing Avon at Hamilton Southeastern, both off to 2-0 starts. James, any particular games you're looking forward to paying attention to?
I got to check the schedule. I haven't been on my high school grind as of late, but, give me some time, and I'll have a couple of spots I might actually pull up to tonight. We'll see.
All right. I did notice, Kevin, at the early rankings that your Cathedral team is ranked 4th, I believe, right now in Class 5A.
Yeah, struggles in scoring for the Irish early in the year. Granted, the schedule Pretty daunting here out of the gate. Yeah, Roncalli at Chittard, North Central at Warren, Park Tudor at Shortridge. I know Greg Rakestraw's got Pike and Ben Davis. Dominic Miranda will join us from Beech Grove here in a few. So looks to be, once again, another very nice night here for high school football. Week 3. Crazy to think, a third of the season already over after this week.
All right. Meanwhile, we talked about the U.S. Open getting down to the nitty-gritty last night. Semifinal matches for the women. And Arina Sabalenka comes up with a 3-set win over Jessica Pegula. And also Naomi Osaka. Her run to the championship ends at the hands of American Amanda Anisimova. So it'll be Anisimova and Arina Sabalenka for the championship. As far as the men, they'll play later on tonight. Novak Djokovic, the number 7 seed, takes on Carlos Alcaraz, the 2 seed. Also at 7 p.m. tonight, Yannick Sinner goes up against Felix Auger-Aliassime. And so that's what's happening in the world of the U.S. Open.
You just have to name tennis names as like sobriety tests. Name these guys, and we'll see if you can get out of here.
Is that better than doing the alphabet backwards? How's that work?
I would fail that even when I'm stone cold sober.
I think I would as well.
All right. This checkdown brought to you by Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365 has it all. Download the app today. See why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Coming up in a moment, Operation Football with our man Dominic Miranda. We can talk about that a little later in the show if you want to talk about it now, but I wanted to get to Operation Football in a minute here.
Local action, IU, Kennesaw State. Dexter Williams has returned to Bloomington coming up this weekend. I think people will remember what was a really ugly injury in the bucket game a few years ago for him, so that's kind of a unique storyline to that one. And again, Barry Odom trying to go 2-0 for the first time for a first-year head coach in West Lafayette in 100 years. They've got Southern Illinois coming up. So not a great Week 2 slate nationally, but a couple home games here in West Lafayette and Bloomington.
All right. Thank you very much, Kevin. Dominic Miranda, Channel 13, Operation Football, as we team up with their fine coverage of what's happening across the state. We'll do it next, live from Beech Grove, as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Some call it Football Friday. We call it Operation Football in tandem with our fine friends over at Channel 13. And their sports director, Dominic Miranda, joins us as he does every Friday morning at this time. Live from who knows where. Where in the world is Dominic Miranda today on the Payless Liquors hotline? Dom, you had your pep rally where this morning?
Beech Grove High School. Hey, thanks for having me, fellas. Always a pleasure. Just an absolute beautiful morning here in central Indiana. The Hornet's Nest, the Hive, I'm not sure what you call it, but it was buzzing. No pun intended this morning. It was a lot of fun at Beech Grove High School.
Dominic, they're one of the feel-good stories early in the year, are they not? 2-0?
They are. Surprise 2-0. 2-0 for the first time since the 2018-2019 season, and a big one against another 2-0 team, Cecina, tonight. So we'll see. The football team was out here yet again. I've unfortunately started a trend. I said I'm not liable. Again, I'm not liable. If you're tired, if you're fatigued, take a nap today. Do what you need to do. Coach Rex Mosley seemed to be pumped up about it. He said they couldn't keep the guys away. So we love hearing that. Love getting the guys fired up.
Just don't take the nap during third period, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. Study hall.
Got it.
Man, all I'm saying, Dominic, if you got any problems with people, some parents that might have some problems, tell them call me. You're my guy. We got to keep you protected out here.
See, that's why we love James.
I do want to focus a bit on Beech Grove here for a second. Sophomore quarterback Bishop Moore is having a pretty solid season. What can you tell us about him and the role he's embracing, obviously, as QB1?
Yeah, I think I saw 444 yards passing through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's no insignificant amount.
And 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, I mean, that's solid when you're talking about high school. When you think about football success, your mind doesn't necessarily go to Beech Grove. But Coach Rex Mosley, man, he was awesome this morning, by the way. He just gave me a huge handshake. Like, I thought he was going to pick me up, man. He got me fired up. He had the guys fired up. And again, like, it is no requirement having the football guys out there, all right? But they want to, and they want to be involved with the community, and these guys were fired up about it. And this school is pumped up, okay, to be 2-0. Like I said, your mind doesn't go to Beech Grove when you're thinking high school football success in the state of Indiana. But they have a real shot opportunity tonight to go 3-0. And, yeah, that QB, man, he's leading the way. I mean, that in high school, if you're averaging over 200 yards passing through 2 weeks, like that, to me, that's pretty dang solid, especially here in Indiana. So I'm pulling for Beech Grove here tonight. We'll see if they can get it done against Cecina. It'll be tough. Cecina, very high scoring win over Heritage Christian last week. So we'll see. But it's the Hornets' Nest. It's going to be buzzing. It's going to be awesome.
KB, is this the Fighting Mike Chappells? The Hornets?
Ooh. Indeed. The Fighting Jason Hammers, the Fighting Mike Chappells here, the Beech Grove Hornets. Yes. So I expect Chap to, be running out of that the big sheet that the cheerleaders make there to start our Operation Football here.
And then on the flip side, Dominic, I know for Cecina, Eric Montgomery's had a big year so far. What do you know about him? And I know a little bit. I know he's pretty good running back for them, but what he can do to lead this offense, try to help them stay undefeated.
Well, what I do know about Cecina is that they have a lot of community involvement and school pride as well. I'm not too familiar with Mr. Montgomery, but I was talking to Nolan Ayers, noted Cecina football alumni and noted DePaul football alumni, and he's very heavily invested in Cecina football, okay, the Crusaders, all right? And he was at the Heritage Christian game, and he said it was one of the best high school football games he's been to in a long, long time. So both of these offenses seem to be really solid here in the early going of the season, so someone's going to have to lose tonight. But Cecina, if I had to go, historically, I feel like Cecina would pull it out here. But there's something special brewing here at Beech Grove, okay, that they might get it done here tonight. But not too familiar with Mr. Montgomery, but that's why we have him on the schedule here tonight. We're going to watch Cecina football play for the first time this season. We try to spread the love for our 11 o'clock slate every night. 7 games here tonight. We're down a photographer, so we had to minimize our games gone to. So 7 games live in studio tonight. And Beech Grove Cecina, that's going to be one of the big ones. But we got a very nice slate. And I got to tell you guys, the first 2 weeks here of Indiana high school football have been really, really telling and really talented stuff going on the field. Carmel comes to mind. HSE comes to mind. Brownsburg's a buzzsaw. You know what I mean? New Pal, Decatur Central, a tough start, first year in 6A. All right, so we've made our way around the classes, and there's some really cool stuff going on. So happy you got to join us at 11. It's all sorts of fun, and we give you the information you need to know.
Okay, well, I'll fill you a little bit about Eric Montgomery, and I can't take credit for this. This is shout out to Kyle Neddenriff of Indy Star.
No, yeah, please do.
He's, I guess, a two-way player. A lot of that happens in the lower classes, and he's had 167 yards and 2 touchdowns for the first 2 weeks. Also had 15 tackles last week. So, quite the player. And when you're speaking of some of the matchups that you're seeing so far, Dominic, I think for me, when I look at the way this is all kind of shaken out, a lot of times you don't really, one of the best things about high school sports, you don't really know how it will shake out. You think you will. And then you have these teams like, a Beech Grove who has some success there as well. But I do know, some more prominent football players in the Colts locker room who pulled up to a high school game last week. So what can you tell us about that and perhaps the reaction from the crowd?
Yeah, that was wild. I pulled up because we were live at Brownsburg. They had to get all the way up to Carmel for Carmel Westfield, which was unbelievable environment. That was a college football environment. No mind the construction, and too bad we couldn't get Rakestraw on the Booger Mobile, by the way.
Oh, boy.
Crime against humanity. But I do want to talk about the voice similarities and the speculating the height based on the voice. All right, I did not forget about that, by the way. But look, Carmel Westfield was an awesome environment, and I listened to Rake last Friday with you guys, and I'm sure I'll have something to say about it today as well. But Carmel being down and Westfield kind of supplanting them as who comes out of the north for 6A, like Carmel is back. They look solid. They're fun to watch. Those stands were packed. And to your point, James, we had Riley Leonard and Daniel Jones pull up. They were walking up when I got out of the car. I'm like, I'm in a hurry, but I'm clocking you guys that you're here right now. And then they went on the sideline and they were watching, and they were being really gracious, taking a bunch of pictures with the people there. But what an environment and what a win for Carmel, a statement win. Now they got Centerville out of Ohio tonight. See if they can keep this train rolling. But Kevin Wright is just picking up right where he left off there at Carmel, man. It's really impressive to see. But it was really cool to see Riley Leonard and Daniel Jones there. I think I saw Gary Brackett there also. So it was just like star-studded on the sideline for the battle of the North Side, and the Greyhounds. They're back. Made a statement. It was awesome.
I love it. People can tune in all night tonight once the games are over to Operation Football on Channel 13. Dominic Miranda doing a terrific job there. Hey, we got news late last night, or late in the day anyway, that Caitlin Clark is not going to play again this year. I know that you had a very extensive conversation with her early in the year. What were you thinking when you saw that statement come out? What came to your mind?
It sucks. It just sucks. Like, she's such a competitor. She wants to be out there. And I just feel like she's really dejected. And I remember we caught up with her again before the All-Star game. And even then, I mean, she was playing, right? But it just felt like she wasn't herself. And groins, man, they are nothing to trifle with. Like, those linger. If you do not rest that will linger. And if she's not going to be the explosive player that we've all grown accustomed to her being when she's out there, then I don't blame herself. I don't blame the Fever for, sidelining her. But it just is so disappointing. Think of the adversity this team has faced. I mean, it's not just her. I mean, the slew of season-ending injuries is remarkable, truly. And for them to be over 500 still and clinging to that playoff spot, I mean, that would be no insignificant feat, just making the playoffs without her. But yeah, catching up with her before the season, like, she had a lot of goals. And I mean, you can call it a sophomore slump if you want. When she was out there, it wasn't the greatest start to the season by her lofty standards, okay? But this team, it's interesting to see all the hype and everything surrounding this team heading into the season, and then just to be ravaged by injuries. And you got to give credit to Stephanie White. The adjustments made, I mean, how many times was this starting five even healthy together? I mean, truly. It stinks that it went this way, and I don't think it's crazy to say they probably won't make an extended run in the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong, and they make a crazy run to the WNBA championship. But it just stinks. I think that was my prevailing emotion, that the WNBA is better when Caitlin Clark is playing. Basketball is better when Caitlin Clark is playing, and I'm sure it just ate her up inside to not be out there. But if you're not going to be 100%, then, you got to play the long game. It sucks to say, but I understand the logic and everything. It just stinks that it had to. It's officially official now. We won't hear it, because it was day to day, technically from the team. I don't know maybe that designation was too hopeful or misleading. I'm not quite sure. I'm not going to speculate or anything, but it was day-to-day, and I remember catching up with the Fever, PR around the All-Star break, like, all right, she's going to be out extended period of time this time, right? Like, no, it's day-to-day. And anyway, here we are. But it's disappointing. It stinks, but I just hope she's healthy. Her and Tyrese Halliburton both, man. We gotta get over this injury bug.
So, Dominic, to end it more on a more positive note, I know that Brownsburg, the wide receiver, Brendan Sharp, is a stud. He balled out last week. This is a kid who has multiple Division I offers right now, had 237 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Fighting Kevin Bowens last week in Cathedral, and a shutout win over them. Another big game tonight against Franklin Central, who's also undefeated. But what can you tell us about him and how he's kind of making his stamp on this Central Indiana high school football?
Confident young man. All right, I do know a lot about Brandon Sharp, man. He's extremely well spoken too. We caught up with him in our high school football preview, which is still on WTHR Plus, by the way. Brownsburg's a buzzsaw. I mean, goodness gracious, Coach Hart's got those boys just absolutely clicking on all cylinders. To blink, look, it's not the most talented Cathedral team that's ever walked through the door, but to blank them 29-0, following up an out-of-state win the week before, these guys are clicking. Every single throw, it's the yards after catch is 8 receptions. It wasn't that many receptions. 8 receptions, 237 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's bonkers right there. That's banana cakes is what my high school basketball coach used to call it. But he's super confident. He's like, look, give me the ball, and I'll do the rest. Their offense is clicking, and Oscar Fry back there slinging it. Good connection with Brandon Sharp, and he just gets open super easily, and then he's slippery. He's impossible to tackle. It was a school record, by the way. I don't know if you said that. That's off the top.
Wow.
But it was a school record in receiving yards. I mean, I should hope so. 237.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? But yeah, I talked to him before the season. He's undecided. He said it was funny. The day I did the preseason one-on-one sit-down with Kurt Signetti, he told me, oh, that's funny because, like, I love Kurt Signetti, and, like, IU's definitely in, front runner here. So I was like, all right, well, that would be awesome. I mean, feels like you would fit right in there in Bloomington. So undecided, but, man, someone's going to get a steal. That guy rocks, and Brownsburg is buzzing right now for sure. Yeah, big game against Franklin Central. Looking forward to that one. We'll be at that one tonight.
All right, and once again, Operation Football, Channel 13, a little bit later on tonight, all kinds of scores, highlights, most comprehensive coverage you're going to find of high school football every Friday night on WTHR. Dom, thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate your time. Travel safe tonight.
Absolutely, will do. Roncalli Chatard, our game of the week, HSE Avon and Undercart. Are you kidding me? It doesn't get better than this. Appreciate that. Shout out, Jeff. Hey, you guys have a great morning. We got NFL football this weekend. KB, Notre Dame's going to win 11 straight. Don't you worry, my brother. It's going to be all right.
Can you talk me off the ledge?
It's going to be okay. Well, the trenches need to get better. I'll tell you that right now.
No.
Trenches got to get better.
That's my worry.
We have our quarterback. That much is true.
Yeah. Amen to that, but the trenches did worry me. Have a great night, man.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Dominic Miranda, Channel 13, Operation Football, every Friday morning, 7:30, right here in 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Your shoulders noticeably slumped when he brought up Notre Dame, Kevin.
Yeah, I still am not off the ledge.
All right. Well,
I wish they played a cupcake team tomorrow, but Notre Dame's schedule doesn't involve cupcakes.
Ooh.
No Kennesaw State for Notre Dame?
No Kennesaw State. No. The Owls, right, Mark? Can we get an owl for Kennesaw State?
Sure.
Man.
I'm sure
I think that's
it
cool.
in here.
Dexter Williams gets to come back and play in Bloomington. I felt awful for him. His 2 season-ending injuries. He tore his ACL in the spring 1 year and then came back to play in the bucket game. And I still vividly remember him going down non-contact in that game. And he was thought to be a dual-threat quarterback and was Georgia Southern last year, now Kennesaw State this year. So.
Right. Is that a real owl, or is that just a human being pretending to be an owl? That's
No, that's an owl.
Just got shot in the backyard. That doesn't sound very good.
That sounds like a human being.
That's not.
No.
So not everybody's Steve Irwin, huh?
I know.
Mark, find a better owl.
Heard a few owls.
Find a better owl. That was immaculate.
Got some high standards here on the show.
Telling you.
There's some birds. Oh, that's nice. We can just do animal sounds.
Hey, while we're talking about football, you want to have a good time on Sunday morning. Colts fans, join us as the party starts before kickoff at the Ultimate Colts Tailgate downtown at the Slippery Noodle, Sunday, September 7th, 9:30 a.m. is when it's going to get started out there. The Fan, Neutral, and Jack Daniels, they have your game day covered. Going to have $6 neutral seltzers, Mick Ultra, Bud Light for $5.75, Jack cocktails for $7, and Bloody Mary's going to be on tap. Maria's and margaritas for $8, and $6 neutral seltzers just for you, along with some great food, delicious food over at the Slippery Noodle to fuel your fandom. Play tailgate games. I'll be there, so you can hang out with me before I head over to the game. We're all going to get hyped up for the Colts home opener against the Miami Dolphins and the season opener. Don't miss it. Go to 1075thefan.com for more information. Slippery Noodle. That's your game day party spot coming up Sunday morning, 9:30 here with the Fan. Speaking of the Colts, getting ready for the Dolphins now.
It's a barred owl, since we're critiquing owl sounds.
Ooh, okay. Never heard of that one before. Thought all owls were the same.
We're gonna get all different kinds of owls this morning. Now you've opened up the floodgates for Mark Dyke.
Yeah. If that owl sound wasn't good for you, we got to figure one out before we get out of this show today.
I like the owl that tries to get to the chocolate center of the Tootsie Pop. You remember that guy?
Yeah, I always thought I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna lick the Tootsie Roll Pop and get to them, and I would give up. I'm like, forget this. Let me just eat this thing.
Did any human being ever actually do that without biting into it?
I'm sure somebody on TikTok did it.
Do you think people on TikTok even know what a Tootsie Pop is?
I don't know. They're still out there. You can still get them. I see them showing up in the kids' Halloween. Well, the kids don't really do Halloween, but up until a couple of years ago, they were still getting those.
Man, I ain't gonna lie. If you give me a Tootsie Pop on Halloween, bad house.
I like
those things, man.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I was always more of a blow pop guy. Give me the one with the gum in the middle.
Yeah, that's much better.
Well, it's coming up soon. Halloween's only, 6 weeks away, 7 weeks away?
Yeah, we already bought a Halloween costume at Costco. My daughter's like, can I get this? I'm like, it's in August. What are we doing? It's August. Well, you might change your mind.
Well, I'll tell you what. My birthday is in December. I have a twin sister, and my sister has been trying on dresses for our birthday. Her birthday is what I call it because I'm just so chill. She will FaceTime me and show me the dress, and I kid you not, there's probably been at least 7 dresses, and it's September. Birthday is in December. So you talk about a planner. She's a planner. She's asked me what I'm doing for my birthday. I was like, if I get a good meal, I am probably happy and not working. So we'll see how that shakes out.
When do the Halloween costumes come into focus in your household?
Yeah, we probably should start chatting about them. Yeah, it is nearing. So yes, I Bowser, I assume, for Max.
There you go.
I don't know, Rosie, maybe a princess or something along those lines. Actually, I think she said she wanted to be a cheerleader.
Okay.
My daughters want to be a girl from The Descendants, the Disney movie, and then my oldest found the costume from Costco. It's an inflatable Mario costume with Yoshi attached to it.
Respect.
I like that.
Respect.
So she's going to have the mustache and everything.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good outfit. That's a good costume.
One of my
Nora
favorites.
doesn't know what she wants to be yet, which is unsurprising.
Yeah. So whatever it is, she's going to rock it. We know that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. One of my favorites several years ago, kids were probably 8, 9. All of us went as Ghostbusters. Had the little slime guns and everything, man. It was fun.
I have we had the old Ghostbuster stuff in the 90s. That was outstanding.
All right. Football does come to the area tonight. High school football, we just got done talking about that. The college, as Kevin was talking about just a minute ago. You really worried about Notre Dame?
Well, I don't know.
You got a whole week before you play again.
Yeah,
but
we should probably transition to a little Colts-Dolphins.
We'll get there, but
their season
you
opener.
just can't gloss right over that. I saw I don't know why. They're going to be fine by the end of the year.
It's a bye week for Notre Dame.
I know. They're going to be fine.
Refocus on them.
Yeah, got a season opener coming up.
Keys to the game, James Boyd. What do you got? Sunday, 1 o'clock.
You should probably contain, to a degree, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Like I said, I keep looking at that secondary, and I'm like, you sure you want to put Xavier Howard out there on either of those guys? Because if I am the play caller, I don't know nothing about play calls. I'm just saying run straight and run fast right past him. I got to see if he can hold up. They had him on their team, and they chose to not bring him back. So I'm curious about that. I think getting pressure on Tua will be key as well, to kind of counter some of that speed. You want to get pressure on the quarterback. And then offensively, what they've been telling us all year, you said you want to maximize consistency. Well, let's see that. Let's see some drives where you're able to get up and down the field and you're not having these starts and stops that, held you back last year with Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco. So I'm excited for the game, and we will certainly have some predictions for you all, I would assume, later throughout the show.
Well, that secondary that's been rebuilt in the offseason is certainly going to get a test when you start looking at Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle And I don't think Darren he's probably not going to play, is he? I know he's been battling some injuries. Do we have any latest on his comeback attempt with the Dolphins at tight end?
I don't know much about what his availability will be, what his status will be,
I would
what
guess
he'll do.
no.
But
yeah, probably.
I mean, if he's out there again,
he hasn't played football in quite a while.
It's the opposite of what I just said about Xavier Howard. I'm running right.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything to make sure he's involved in the action.
I don't think he's practiced all week.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the speed out of the backfield. I mean, he catches passes and he turns the corner. Achane.
Yeah, I mean, tackling is going to
be.
be a premium. You know, when you're facing a team like this, you know, the Colts, I thought, were one of the poorer tackling teams in the league last year. You know, you cannot let yards after catch because Tua does want to get the ball out quick. And, you know, this is where I think the disrupting of timing comes into play so much. A big reason why you change defensive coordinators, in my opinion, is I don't think you did enough disrupting from a coverage standpoint, particularly playing, you know, some press. So, you know, yes, you can disrupt timing with your front, but you can also do it from a coverage standpoint. So it's going to be a great challenge. And again, it's a unique challenge. I thought Tua pointed this out earlier this week. Oftentimes, how defenses choose to play the Dolphins is a bit different than how they choose to play 90% of the rest of the NFL. So, you know, what does Lou Anarumo? There's not a lot of Anarumo against Miami here the last couple of years. So I think that's a little bit of a different twist. And, you know, when you look back at last year's game, just not a lot to take away. Tua didn't play in the game. Jonathan Taylor didn't play in the game. DeForest Buckner didn't play in the game. So there's just not a lot to point to last year in that matchup. Low-scoring game, ugly game. Again, Taylor, to me, is just such a huge, huge aspect to playing the ball control and trying to grind out methodical drives. And with uncertainty, I think, behind him and how they'll utilize those running backs, a healthy Jonathan Taylor, based off how he ended last season, I mean, they gave him the ball a ton late last year. I assume that'll be a big, big onus for them coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, Dolphins last year, they were mid against the run, kind of ranked right in the middle. And I would think that that's going to be the big focal point offensively. I know Daniel Jones is going to try to hit all those receivers, but if the Colts can get it going with JT, that could be a problem for the Dolphins.
Yeah, like Shane Steichen said, JT will be the backbone of their offense. I know people were kind of outraged about that. Oh, my gosh, why would he give away the game plan? Jonathan Taylor is not a Trojan horse. He's one of the best running backs in the league. For this to work, he has to have a great season at running back. And honestly, if you look back at the last time Daniel Jones had success in the NFL in 2022, he had one Saquon Barkley who had a great season alongside him. So you need a dynamic back. I think Jonathan Taylor is that, and he'll have a chance to kind of prove himself too. I think some of these guys won't really talk about it. I think DeForest Buckner went there a little bit yesterday, but just he called it scars. The scars of getting close, being disappointed, and looking up after 17, 18 weeks and going, man, I did all that for nothing because we're not even in the mix. We don't even have a chance to have going a run because we didn't get a chance to get into the dance. And so I am excited to see how they come out. And ultimately, can you exercise some demons here? You have not won your season opener since 2013, and that needs to change in order for you to make the playoffs the first time since 2020.
Kevin, I'm really fascinated to see what kind of pass rush the Colts have put together this year. I know that Latu's coming on. They obviously are really stout in the middle of that defensive line, but getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback has been tough for them the last couple of years. They addressed that a little bit in the draft this year. Right out of the gate, how are they going to get pressure with Lou Anarumo's new scheme? What's the plan to get pressure onto it?
Well, I think he's one of the hardest quarterbacks to pressure because he gets the ball out so quick. I mean, as quick as any quarterback in the league. So it goes back to kind of what I was saying a few minutes ago. To me, you can disrupt timing, and again, a couple different manners. If you're disrupting on the back end with coverage and, you know, sticky press, then boom, is he, you know, having the pump and go to his second read or go to his third read. That's what I think you're trying to do with Tua. And, you know, they've had a lot of discussions in the offseason where, as a big play of an offense as they've been with Tua and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they didn't tap into a lot of that last year. So I do think on paper there is an advantage for the Colts D-line against Miami's O-line, but you know they're going to dial up some shots. So when those plays happen, can the rush get home? Can you make some competitive plays in the back end? Those are going to be absolutely vital.
What's Daniel Jones' line look like if the Colts are effective offensively? Like if they win and they throw up 24 points or 27 points on the Dolphins, what does his line look like, James?
That's a good question. I'll throw it back at you first. Let's see where.
I'm thinking 17 to 25 for about 220 yards and at least a touchdown. And then you lean on the ground game.
Definitely want to lean on the ground game. I don't know if I would go that high with the pass attempts there, Jeff, but I do think the efficiency, along those lines of what you just laid out, will probably be what they want to see. I don't know.
But
it's
I'm thinking like
predict.
maybe 6.5, 7 yard, probably 7 yards of pass attempt if they're somewhat successful.
Yeah, but this is a guy who doesn't push it down the field, so we'll see if that changes at all. But I don't know how to predict stat lines, man. I mean, I haven't seen the guy in the offense, but I would assume that if they win the game, he's probably getting the end zone twice, whether that's 2 passing touchdowns or passing in a running touchdown that's short yardage. So we will see. We did have Jonathan Taylor talking about speeds yesterday and how fast Daniel Jones is, 21 miles per hour and whatnot. I want to see that on the gun. 21 miles per hour is very fast.
Remember early in his career, though, that 2022 year, he had some long runs where he was outrunning defensive backs.
I know. I just want to see it
Go
again.
to the local street where they have the police speed limit sign out and just run by and see how fast you are.
They always have that at the combine, don't they, for like the kids, the little indoor 20, 25-yard dash?
Vegas has Daniel Jones's day as 19 for 28 for 199 and 1.5 touchdowns. That's your over-under for Daniel Jones coming up tomorrow. Or Sunday.
Jeff will be slightly over that then.
I think it is.
Which would
A
be a win.
successful day.
I think it is absolutely vital. As horizontal as the Colts want to be, as Dink and Duncan's methodical as they want to be, you have to take shots down the field. It's a disservice to Alec Pierce, probably more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do that, and you have to say to Minkah Fitzpatrick and company, hey, you might not think we're going to do it, but we have to put that seed of doubt into your mind. You don't do that, NFL's too good, and they're going to suffocate you underneath. So I think that is a huge, huge aspect to the Colts trying to establish some balance offensively. I know a lot of people will probably be tongue-in-cheek at this, but some people actually care about it. I did see the Colts announce that any roof announcements, it used to come from the Twitter of one Jim Irsay, Colts Life on Twitter will be announcing the roof update, my amateur retractable roof thoughts. If it's 71 and sunny and you can't have the roof open on Sunday, then why do you have the retractable roof? So I'm going to guess a open roof coming up on Sunday.
If nothing else, can we at least get Carly Irsay-Gordon to have a Twitter account to only announce what's going to happen with the roof before each home game?
Seems to be pretty quiet on the old
say,
Twitter.
But I mean, that's all I'm looking for. Just tell me what the roof. Just tell me what the roof is going to be.
At Colts Life, that's where you need to go on Twitter for your roof updates coming up on Sunday.
All right, we'll talk more about the Colts and the Dolphins. We'll stop in with our regular Friday morning chat with the one and only Greg Rakestraw in a moment as we continue at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Did he spit? Did he spit on him? I think he did. Here you go.
You gotta give him that huck too and spit on that thing.
Jack gives to Williams, left side, into the end zone. 3rd and goal. Hurts has time, takes off. Jalen Hurts, touchdown Philadelphia. Prescott gives to Williams, inside for the touchdown. 2 drives, 2 Javonte Williams, 1-yard touchdown runs. Hurts, again the tie. Now chased, now taken off to the pylon. Got there! And they run Barkley inside. Saquon touchdown! Philadelphia on top.
My goodness. Only Mark could throw in the hawk to a girl and make it seamless. Just perfect right there.
I had a lot to choose from. It was either going to be Hawk Tuller or it was going to be Kramer and Newman talking about when Keith Hernandez spit on them.
Still
Lots
time.
of options last night.
There's still time.
There's still time.
Great work, Mark, on that.
Outstanding work. The NFL season is off and running with a Super Bowl celebration, an ejection before the first down of the game right after the opening kickoff, and then a rain delay of almost an hour. So there you go. It's off and running in 2025. And for all things Indiana and football and everything else, we bring in our next guest every Friday morning at 8 a.m., the one, the only Indiana legend, Greg Rakestraw. Good morning, Greg Rakestraw. Did you catch any of that NFL game last night?
I did, but I am hitting an age where the rain delay tapped me out. I was locked in, especially after I said Jalen Hurts was an MVP candidate on your show yesterday, and he made me look smart. But at like 11 o'clock, I'm like, all right, it's bourbon time and time to go to bed, and that's exactly what happened.
Bourbon time. I like that.
Good for you, Greg
Yeah.
Rakestraw.
Some people take sleeping pills. I do a little Woodford Reserve.
There you go.
Amen to that. Battle of the West Side for you tonight?
Correct. Pike and Ben Davis, both teams coming to 0-2. It's a really young Ben Davis team, especially at quarterback. They're playing a freshman. Both these teams have played good teams so far to get to 0-2. Both teams have struggled to score. I think both teams are probably better than their record would indicate, and I expect a very competitive game at BD tonight.
One thought 6A, Rake. Brownsburg, what they've done the first 2 weeks, darn impressive. I think, Carmel's had obviously a really nice start under Kevin Wright. I know coming into the year we thought 6A was wide open. Are we starting to tear things out at the top there with the Bulldogs and I guess maybe the Greyhounds, or how do you view the top of 6A right now?
They are the early favorites in each of the 2 respective halves. It's through 2/9 of the regular season, so that should probably tell you how much stock to put in it. You can't sleep on Center Grove. They have won a couple of games. Again, kind of like most teams, are they trash people? No. But are they clearly the winner of the 2 games they have played? Yes, in terms of both Warren Central and Carroll of Fort Wayne. So, don't sleep on them either. The way I've been phrasing people this week, Kevin, is this. I think Brownsburg is the best team in 6A, but I also don't think it is a gap where they are an unbeatable team come the postseason or in terms of the regular season. So Brownsburg is the early favorite, but a lot of ground left to cover.
Rake, when you look at what Center Grove has done over the last X amount of years, do you think there is a certain degree of we shouldn't take this for granted? Because I'm looking at them every year, and it's gotten to the point where no matter who lines up for them or who suits up or who they lose to graduation, I expect them to be in the thick of things when it matters the most.
I was there at the beginning of the Eric Moore days. This is his 27th year as the head coach at Center Grove. And that was not viewed as a good job to take. That was kind of like Barry Alvarez when he got to Wisconsin 30-ish years ago in terms of played in the right league, but were like the smallest school and did not have exactly a great winning tradition in football. Have an occasional good year, but not a place where you thought you were going to be competitive with the Warrens, with the Carmels, with the Ben Davises of the world. And by Eric's second season, they were playing in the state championship game. They lost that game to Penn, but they had to beat Ben Davis to get to that point. And more often than not, there was kind of a brief dip a handful of years after that. But more often than not, you simply go, listen, they're going to be in the semi-state at worst. Part of that is geography, but part of that is, and you hear this from coaches a lot, this refers to the Center Grove community, is buy-in. They have modified their offense a little bit over the years to kind of throw the ball a little bit more, probably to keep some top-level quarterback recruits that don't want to just hand the ball off in terms of the wing tee. But it is very much like a CYO version of a public school program. Everybody at the 34s, the 56s, middle school football, you run the Center Grove offense. That's what you do. If not, you are going to play someplace else, or you're going to be routed to a different high school. And so everybody kind of knows the system, knows what to expect. And then there's the whole, success breeds success in terms of the atmosphere, the stadium. Let's face it, good amount of money down there. That certainly doesn't hurt. But no, it is remarkable what Eric did in a short amount of time and then has sustained down there for the last quarter century.
Greg Rakestraw joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning. A lot of high school football around the region tonight. We've seen the early success of Carmel, which a few folks are surprised by. But anything else over the first couple of weeks that's kind of raised your eyebrows?
No, I mean, Carmel is the one to talk about. And again, you shouldn't be surprised that Carmel wins. You shouldn't be surprised that Kevin Wright is successful. It is something to be said that they can match last year's win total tonight. Because they were 3-7, and that was on the heels of a 5-5 season where, frankly, they had a couple of games bounce their way later. They would have been 3-7 the year before as well. And so, again, Kevin Wright is so good at this level. He's just a good football coach, period. But I think everybody thought that maybe there is kind of like a building year, but no, there's not. Now, it helps that you've got multiple D1 kids on the team. Quarterback Anthony Colner's heading for Troy. Helps when you have a move-in. Young man named Dane Bathurst is their defensive end, and he's a D1 level kid, and he had 3 sacks against Westfield last week. But the fact that they beat Fishers and Westfield soundly, and then Fishers last week after losing to Carmel in week 1, Fishers goes and beats Lawrence North, who was thought to be one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the state this year. That kind of tells you how quickly Kevin has kind of flipped the switch at Carmel. So, no, I mean, there's obviously multiple storylines, but in terms of the ones that are on my radar and the schools I see on a regular basis, that's the storyline so far this year is the fact that they are 2-0 and have been pretty dominant in those 2 wins as well.
Greg Rakestraw joining us here on the Payless Liquors hotline, always gracious with his time. The last one I have on the high school scene is the backstory kind of leading Kevin Wright back to Carmel. I'm not familiar. So if you want to fill me and the listeners in, his last game with that program prior to this season was the 2014 state championship. You finished as the runner-up to Ben Davis. And, you look up 11 years later and he's back in the saddle. So what had led him back home, so to speak?
Wanted to be home. I mean, that's it. And again, he is the son of the legendary and now retired Bud Wright. That was the head coach since the dawn of Western civilization at Sheridan until the end of last year. His brother was the head coach at Lebanon for a few years, but Kevin, started at Frankfort, then Noblesville. I'm going to miss a step or 2 along the way. Trinity High School, Warren Central, where he won multiple state championships. Kevin and a lot of high school coaches are just like players, want to test themselves at a bigger level. Well, there's coaches that, you know what, I want to give this a try in terms of being a college coach. And so, Kevin did that at Western Kentucky. He took a job down at Union High School on the east side of Tulsa, and that place is crazy for many reasons. But in terms of like facilities, expectations, et cetera. Kevin then was on the staff at was at IMG and helped run that program. Then went to Indiana University with Tom Allen, and I think finally got to a point where he's like, you know what? Maybe it's okay just to be a great high school coach and let me go home. And so kind of when this job opened up, when John Hebert was going to be brought back after the struggles of the last couple of years, Kevin was a pretty obvious choice if Kevin was interested in the job. And clearly you can tell that is paying off immediately for the Carmel Greyhounds.
Rake, is that Tulsa Union home of the old Summit League tournament?
That is correct. And so I spent 4 parts of Marches down there as the home of the Summit League tournament. So, yes, this was a high school that had a 5,600 chair back seat arena on its campus that doubled as the home of a Division I college basketball tournament. And no one would have known that was a high school facility when you tuned into ESPN to watch the championship game. So to some degree, it was kind of the Carmel of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'll put this in Kevin Bowen terms, it's not far from Southern Hills. So which is where they have major golf events and things go along that line. So flush with cash down there. And one of the years that I was doing the tournament is the year that Kevin was down there as the head coach. So I kind of around the corners, and I think he's kind of surprised to see a familiar face. And I'm like, you sure you know what you're getting into down here, buddy? And I think it was 7-4, and I think I'll go someplace else. Thank you very much.
Sounds like a car ride up US 31 for you and I here before Notre Dame basketball game. Shifting gears to the Colts, he is, of course, the post-game show host. He is Greg Rakestraw. Week 1 coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock. Colts a 1.5-point favorite currently over the Miami Dolphins. The most sure thing and the positive development that you believe for the 2025 Colts, and the most unknown concern you have for the 2025 Colts?
The unknown is Daniel Jones truly a playoff-level quarterback? Again, he did it in 2022. Do I believe that he has better pieces around him in Indianapolis than he did in New York? Yes, I believe that to be the case. The most sure thing for this Colts football team, and again, this is the, barring injury, is the guy that'll line up next with Daniel Jones in the backfield and Jonathan Taylor. I do firmly believe that the Colts have done a good job of building their roster around the ultimate question, and that being the quarterback position. But as it often does, what's the KISS theory? Keep it simple, stupid. Is the quarterback enough for this team to be a playoff team? And that has been the conversation from about 2019 on, and that continues to be the conversation in 2025. Is Daniel Jones good enough to make this a 10-win team that gets them to the playoffs for the first time since 2020?
Yeah, that's really what everybody's looking at, and we want to see what that rebuilt defense looks like. What do you expect against the speed demon Miami Dolphins? Good
question. I think the defense is better. I mean, you spend money on guys like Warren and Bynum, you're going to make your defense better. They have depth in terms of the pass rush game. From a schematic standpoint, how does a more aggressive style of Lou Anarumo not just translate for the entire season, but again, translates to what Miami has to offer. So, is this going to be a bigger play defense, but maybe gives up a few more big plays? That might be the case. But honestly, I think the defense is going to be good, but I think it all comes down to, is this going to be an offense that can produce 20, 25, 30 points when needed on a regular basis? And I think Sunday will be another example of that. So not to shirk your question on defense, I think it all comes down to what this team does offensively week in, week out.
Rick, I do have one random one before we close it out, and as always, we appreciate your time. We saw, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, Daniel Jones and Riley Leonard making an appearance at the Carmel Westfield game last week. Certainly Westfield, plenty of Colts ties on their roster there. Does Anthony Richardson's little brother play at all? I kind of forget what year he is, but I was curious.
He would be I think he'd be a junior now, and I was kind of scanning the roster for him last week, but didn't recognize or make the connection, so not sure, to be honest with you.
Got it. And they have Cato June's son, right, who's a pretty good D1 or potential
Correct.
D1.
And he is going to Sam Houston State, and then Chris Ballard's son is the starting center. And then Justin Snow's son is getting reps as a tight end as a freshman at Westfield.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Is that Cash Ballard?
I believe so, yes, because his older boy was
right?
Cole, but is now at Kansas, right?
Yeah.
Man,
I
Cash
think that's right.
Yeah.
Quite the name.
It's a good name for a center.
It's great.
Yeah, I think so.
More importantly, he's got pretty good size, about 6'3" and 280.
Oh, I've seen him. Yeah. He is certainly a football player. Rick, thanks for the time, man, and enjoy tonight's games, as I know you will.
All right, sounds good, fellas.
Thank you very much. You can hear Greg Rakestraw all weekend long. You can watch his game that he was talking about in high school a little bit later on tonight. You can hear him on Soccer Saturday beginning at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. And you'll hear his work in the post-game show after the Colts game against the Miami Dolphins on Sunday afternoon.
Might see Rick today.
He's around.
I have a pretty good connection with Ben Davis and their media program. So I might stop by and see the Giants later tonight. See Rick as well.
You going to go to that game tonight?
Yeah, no, it's serious. I'm not joking. I actually have a teacher over there that I'm pretty familiar with. Shout out to John Easter. Mr. Easter is very nice to me, been very gracious to me. I've talked to his students here and there over the years, and have a nice rapport. I feel like I'm an honorary Ben Davis grad, with how much I stop by there throughout the school year. So shout out to the Giants.
All right, a little high school football action for you. In the meantime, it was fun to hear Greg's thoughts on it. We've talked about it. We've had OTAs. We've had the quarterback competition. We had all of camp. We had all those things. And Kevin, here we are. And it's really now just get on the field and let's see what Daniel Jones has. Let's see what Lou Anarumo has. It's time. The time for talk is done at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Tyler Warren. We had Jason Hammer on the show late yesterday, and he mentioned the 3.5 catch over-under for Tyler Warren. Yes, I would hammer that. I think they're going to use him a lot. I think they're going to use him in a variety of ways. It's been a little while since the Colts have added a piece to the skill group. Jonathan Taylor has been with the team for a little bit. Michael Pittman Jr. been with the team for a little bit. Alec Pierce, Josh Downs a couple years. They haven't really dabbled in the free agency world at either of those two spots. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing how much Warren is utilized and how much he can help things. I think he probably was going to be a great help to Anthony Richardson. Maybe Daniel Jones is more of a methodical passer, so maybe he doesn't have as huge of an impact. But, we saw it in the preseason. That Baltimore game, he played very little and still had 3 catches right away. And in that Green Bay game, really one of the big misses Daniel Jones had all preseason was Tyler Warren streaking down the field for a huge gain there. So, number 84, rocking the Jack Doyle. That'll be Tyler Warren coming up on Sunday.
Quick question. Yep. First thing to happen, both of you feel free to weigh in. Tyler Warren passing touchdown or Tyler Warren rushing touchdown? He had 4 rushing touchdowns last year for the Nittany Lions and 1 passing touchdown. However, the 1 touchdown came on just 6 attempts. So, a little more efficient through the air, I would think.
We've seen Shane Steichen involved in some crazy plays at the goal line before.
Which way you leaning?
Just because everybody's going to say rushing because it seems the most obvious. I'm going to go passing just because. I'd love to see it.
Okay.
Go rushing, but that southpaw will be used.
I love it.
So, yes, the lefty of Tyler Warren, he will indeed throw a pass. But, yeah, I will go with rushing. And, again, one thing to point out about his Penn State career, not only did he run it, this was not like tush-push. He ran it. I mean, he averaged like 7 yards per carry at Penn State. So this is a guy that broke off some big, big runs.
All right. We'll talk more about it a little bit later on today in the show. And take some of your comments on the fan text line as well, 239-1070. Let those fly in. People are starting to wake up and get in on the digits there, 239-1070. In the meantime, Mark, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Going to lead with WNBA. Caitlin Clark last night put out on her social media that she would not be returning to the floor for the rest of 2025. The groin injury just not getting any better. It's been complicated along the way by a bone bruise in the lower part of her leg, and she's just had upper leg injuries and then that bone bruise bothering her all year long, James, and I guess it just wasn't meant to be in 2025.
Yeah, I feel for her, man. She is someone who is fiercely competitive. I've had the privilege of covering her first 2 seasons in the WNBA, at least on and off, and I know for a fact this was not an easy choice for her, but perhaps the right choice long term.
Kevin, it's been 19 straight games since we last saw her on July 15th, and it just kind of kept going on and on. When did you start to get the sense that maybe it would end like this, just because none of the updates were ever like clear in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago I started getting nervous. I started to count days, count weeks, and thought to myself, oh boy, I don't know if there's enough time, and the fever continued to be really vague with this, and my history just covering sports, it just didn't sound too great. The Caitlin Clark statement last night, this was her own words on social media. I'd hoped to share a better update, but I'll not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how bad I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back. Through all the uncertainty, this has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me and for the fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoffs, and tonight is a big step in that direction. They are a 14-point favorite over the lowly Chicago Sky.
And right now they occupy the 8th and final playoff spot in the WNBA. They're a half game out of 7th, just behind Seattle, but they are currently a game and a half in front of the Los Angeles Sparks. 3 games to play for the Fever. Again, you mentioned Chicago tonight, 7:30. Airtime with the fan pregame show, and Eddie Garrison comes your way at 7:15. Their final 2 games at Washington and Minnesota. And in a way, you hope their game against Minnesota. Minnesota's got everything clinched, and they just kind of call off the starting unit and just let it play out.
Yeah, again, the Sky have been sticking it up as of late. They don't have their best player in Angel Reese, so go out there and handle business.
All right, that's what's happening in the WNBA. NFL, the season is underway. Last night, Philadelphia Eagles with a 24-20 win over the Dallas Cowboys. Crazy start to this game after a light show and boys to men and celebrating a Super Bowl win last year. They had the opening kickoff as one player on the special teams unit was being carted off with an injury. Jalen Carter was busy spitting on Dak Prescott and was immediately ejected from the game. We were off and running, both teams. No punts in that first half. They just kept running up and down the floor. Or down the field. It was 24-20, and then the lightning came, and we had a 1-hour rain delay. That's about as much craziness for an opener as you're going to get, James Boyd.
Absolutely. And again, when you look about boys to men, can you stand the rain? Jalen Carter, they were not talking about spit in that scenario. So, tough situation for him, an embarrassing situation for him, but ultimately the Eagles pull out the dub.
And we've got another NFL game tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. That one comes your way at 8 o'clock tonight from Sao Paulo, Brazil.
I like the Chargers.
It's going to be a fun game, that's for sure. A lot of people are thinking that if the Kansas City Chiefs are going to lose their grip on the AFC West, that maybe the Chargers can get it done, and a lot of people think the Broncos are going to challenge them this year too.
I'm rocking with my boy Travis Kelce. You know, he's got a new outlook on life with Taylor Swift. Got to start the season off with a bang. I saw he started his press conference in Brazil with an impersonation of Patrick Mahomes' voice because Patrick Mahomes, I guess, told everybody that he knew where Brazil was on a map. So they got a little back and forth going. Dropped some weight throughout the offseason, so we'll see if he can turn back the clock at least for one more year and get off to a strong start.
This is a great question from Greg. Who throws the first pass this season, Tyler Warren or Anthony Richardson?
For a second there, I thought you were going to say Daniel Jones. I was like, wait a second, he's getting hurt off the bus? I'm going to say Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
now,
I think
throws a pass. You know, if you're coming in just a blowout for whatever reason, you might not be throwing a pass. So
that's when you tell them, hey, I know all the checks now. I've been in the playbook. Hey,
oh boy,
we're not handing this off.
That might be the final straw for him. It might be Tyler Warren, which is a very scary thought.
I know. I'm gonna say just by default because quarterback, that is your position. You throw the football, and perhaps Daniel Jones, who has had some injury history in this past, does not hold up the first month of the season. Not saying he gets seriously hurt, but gets a little dinged up.
I agree with James, but that is an excellent question coming through on the text line right there.
Justin is trying to vet James Boyd here, maybe audit him. He says, that's New Edition you were singing there. Is that right?
Oh.
Is it?
Oh.
I don't know.
I'm out. I'm not the boy band guy.
Sounded good to me.
My wife would know.
Oh, we might have to fight about this. I gotta look this song up.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness.
Happy Friday, James.
I know, man. It's tough. Tough.
Mark, the buzzer sound. Come on now.
He gave it. He's right there. Colts and the Dolphins coming your way Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock.
Oh, that's what it was. Boys to Men covered it on their final album.
All right.
Sorry about that, guys.
Little both. Colts and Dolphins, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Lucas Oil Stadium. Our pregame coverage begins with the ride to kick off JMV. Going to come your way at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll have all the pregame coverage with the Colts Radio Network. Greg Rakestraw will have the postgame coverage for you. Colts and Dolphins at 1 o'clock. Daniel Jones making his first start, KB, for the Indianapolis Colts. Did you really think he'd be the starting quarterback when they signed him?
No, I
back
did not.
In the offseason?
But as the offseason moved along, it started to trend in that direction. So, yes, Daniel Jones. So what's this, the 8th different Week 1 starter in 9 years? Is that right?
That's crazy.
Anthony Richardson did double dip.
That's crazy. Just goes on and on. Anyway, that comes your way Sunday morning right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. College football coming up this weekend. Yes, I know Notre Dame is off, Kevin, but Indiana is at home against Kennesaw State as they continue their buzzsaw of an early season schedule. Purdue will be hosting Southern Illinois. Maction this week. Ball State going up against Auburn, and we were hearing about this yesterday that maybe 44.5 might not be enough.
Gosh, don't you have to take that? Just to support, like, Colleen Bowen went to Ball State, blood, sweat, and tears there in Muncie. Don't I have to support her and put a nice bet on the Cardinals to cover?
You'd hope so. Mark says you're a good son off mic.
No, yeah, I think he said be a good son, inferring that I'm not a good son, I believe. Indiana 35.5. That is the favorite over the Owls of Kennesaw State. Purdue, Southern Illinois, unless I missed it, doesn't have a line. Is Southern Illinois even D1? Probably not.
The Salukis? Yeah, they are.
I thought they were Indiana State's conference.
They're in the Valley, I think.
Right. Isn't that not? I mean, that's not football subdivision, is it? Or the top of D1, whatever it is.
Division 2, Indianapolis taking on Findlay. That's at noon tomorrow. They'll be on the road there. And in Major League Baseball last night, a very, very light schedule. But we did see the White Sox beat the Minnesota Twins by a score of 11-8. Meanwhile, Indianapolis Indians, they've been on a little bit of a tough streak lately. They lose in Columbus 5-3 was the final score there. The check down is brought to you by Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365, they've got it all. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Coming up in a minute, we'll take a look ahead to what we like, what we don't like, and what's going to be easy and not so easy when it comes to betting lines and just pure entertainment. It's the Fan Morning Show next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning and welcome into Friday. We've already had Operation Football underway. Had a chance to talk to Dominic Miranda. He was out at Beech Grove. And Greg Rakestraw stopped by just a moment ago to talk high school and pro football. Kind of a week schedule for week 2 in all of college football, Kevin. We had all the big ones last week. Everybody's kind of settling back. And I think the biggest one on the schedule this week is maybe Michigan, Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's where game day will be. So, yeah, that's a fun one, though. It's a good little non-conference game. But, yeah, definitely a different hype and appeal for week 2 versus week 1.
Yeah, so we'll be looking forward to that. And, we'll be able to hear Indiana and their game against Kennesaw State here tomorrow afternoon right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. In the meantime, Mark, it's going to be a busy weekend of football all over the place. What you got for us, my man?
Well, so we've done this the last few years where we pick the most entertaining games of the NFL slate or college slate. The easiest games to pick and the hardest games to pick. So since it's week 1 of the NFL season, thought we'd bring that bad boy back. So we're going to avoid the Colts game here. We'll do predictions for that a little later on. But we're going to go around the horn and go with the most entertaining game. Again, this can be college or NFL related. The most entertaining game for you guys, I'm assuming it's going to be probably similar to what mine is. The Sunday night game between the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. That is 2 Super Bowl contenders going at it, and I sure as hell can't wait to watch that one on Sunday night.
That is obvious. Mark, I think actually there are quite a few you could pick from this week Sunday for the NFL slate. I'm going to go tonight. I think Chiefs-Chargers is a great, great game. I think those are 2 teams that out west you think about, okay, how the Chiefs going to respond? What's Travis Kelce look like? Are the Chargers like for real, or was it the Harbaugh first year? I can't wait to watch Marion Hampton, rookie running back there. So I'm going to go Chiefs-Chargers coming up tonight.
Yeah, I have to agree with Kevin. I can't wait to watch that one. I've already set aside time to watch that one tonight. They've had some really entertaining games over the past couple of years. We'll figure we have YouTube in the house because the kids, that's all they want to watch.
The YouTube app on the TV to watch this game tonight. Fair warning to everybody out there.
Or if you have YouTube. Yeah, if you have YouTube TV, they will simulcast it, so you can watch it that way as well. So you don't have to go to the YouTube app if you have YouTube TV.
But it's not YouTube TV for those out there.
For those who don't have YouTube TV, you have to go to literally YouTube.com.
Yeah, so check that out tonight, but I am looking forward to that. But they've had some shootouts in the past. Now, Kansas City has generally come out on top for most of those over the last 3-4 years, but in the Justin Herbert era, the Chargers have been able to put some points on the board against Kansas City, so it's going to be fun to watch tonight.
Yeah, for me, I will go with the Monday night game.
I think
Bears
that's a good one as
and
well. Yeah.
the Vikings. That should be
You're
a
just
good matchup.
feeding the bear over here by saying that.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there is a new quarterback that we get to see in J.J. McCarthy on the Vikings side, and then Ben Johnson. Talked a big game all offseason. You're supposed to be the guru who can help quarterbacks do some special things, to help offenses do some special things. So what will that look like come week 1, a couple days from today? And then on the college scene, I am very curious to see Michigan at number 18, Oklahoma. Bryce Underwood looked phenomenal in his college debut. And I haven't been following this kid very long, but his high school tape was ridiculous. And it looks like he's the real deal. So all the people looking for, somebody to watch come a week college schedule, Saturday night, at Oklahoma, 7:30 kick.
I'm just curious. Go back to that Monday night game. I've listened to some sports radio up in Chicago this past week. They haven't played a game yet. They've been wanting Ben Johnson, begging for Ben Johnson. Why is sports radio already mad at Ben Johnson up there?
Well, that would be news to me. I haven't heard any Ben Johnson hate. I think we're at the point with every NFL.
You guys hate Ben Johnson.
That's untrue. We're at this point in the NFL slate where everybody has exhausted every talking point heading into the season. The games need to get played. So at this point, everybody's just like, just get to Monday. Let's get to Monday and have a game to talk about, because there's all these all these talking points from practices and press conferences. Enough. Let's get the games going. Let's get some stuff on film. We're at that point in the NFL.
Mark, your hardest game to pick of this weekend. From a betting line standpoint, the hardest game to pick is what?
Well, I told you I wouldn't touch Dolphins Colts. That still rings true. But one I definitely am not touching is Panthers Jaguars. Yeah. Jaguars are 3.5-point favorites, but I have no idea what either of these teams is going to be. Yes, you saw some strides from Bryce Young last season, so there's that going on. They also shipped off Adam Thielen to Minnesota, So his best wide receiver from last season is gone. And then you want to see, can Trevor Lawrence finally put it together? We heard this generational talent coming out of the draft. He hasn't really put it together. Now another new head coaching change. Can he finally put it together with Liam Cohen? I'm optimistic, but I'm also not foolish. I'm not going to bet my money on the Jaguars or the Panthers in week 1.
The last time we saw Carolina in Jacksonville was when David Tepper was throwing a drink on a fan out of the luxury box.
I think that's a really difficult one. 3.5 there. I'm going to go Bengals-Browns. 5.5. Cincinnati favored in this one.
Ooh.
On the road, divisional matchup. We saw last night. I thought the divisional underdog was the lock last night. That played out to be true. I mean, you taking Joe Flacco at home with 5.5 points?
I like the Bengals a lot this year. I think they'll cover
on the
that.
road, covering 5.5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I think it's a hard one to pick.
It's difficult.
And I agree with Mark on Colts-Dolphins.
Yeah, those are tough too. My hardest one to pick was, do we have any idea what the Rams are going to be as they host the Houston Texans? They're at home. Sean McVay always has his teams prepared. What's the situation with Matt Stafford's back? Now they got Devontae Edwards out there to put on the other side of Devontae Adams. I'm sorry, on the other side of a terrific wide receiver that's just lit it up the last 2 years. I think that's going to be a really not only entertaining game, but I have no idea how that game is going to play out.
Yeah, Rams are 3.5-point favorites at home on that one. That was another one I debated not touching because same thing. Don't know the status of Stafford, and then the Texans, while they should they should be AFC South division favorites. How are they going to stack up with teams outside of the division? I have no idea.
James, hardest one to pick for you?
Betting wise?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't bet, so you're asking the wrong person. The hardest one.
Geez, James.
Just to pick, just pick who's going to win. Then
are we going to play the game?
What's the most evenly placed matchup that you see there?
Is it Colts-Dolphins? I'll take the Colts.
Okay.
Actually, I'll take the Dolphins.
Well, that was a massive flip-flop in half a second. I'm not going to play
I'm trying to remember all of my...
that was a roller coaster right there.
I'm trying to remember all of my...
Doesn't want to take part in the game. No, then he decides to take part in it. Then he picks two different
games.
games.
No, we have Caleb in the studio from Ball State, and shout out to the Ball State students that I had to catch up with. And I was telling Caleb when I walked in this morning that I have made so many predictions about this game. I feel like I've lied to myself the last week. And so if you go and listen to a podcast or somewhere else, I might have had a different prediction. But, Dolphins in week 1. That's what I'm picking.
Secondary puke all over myself the way James Boyd just spun us. It's like on the teacup ride.
I know we're up against it. Easiest, I'm going to go Broncos covering 8 on Cam Ward and the Titans at home. I think a rookie quarterback against that defense. I know 8 is a bit of a big number, but I like the Broncos.
Kevin and I are remarkably similar. Just to be different, Kevin, I'll also pick the Commanders at home over the New York Giants.
I'm taking Bengals over Browns. So my easiest game is Kevin's hardest game. I just think that Bengals offense is so dynamic that they are just going to run away with the Browns. Browns aren't going to be able to catch up to them. Even if Myles Garrett gets to Joe Burrow a couple times, I think the Bengals will just light it up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and another entertaining game, and we didn't really talk about all that much, probably because we've seen some high-stakes games between the two, but Sunday night, the Ravens and the Bills should be pretty entertaining too.
Sports arousal night on Sunday night. That's a good one right there. That is going to the JMV special.
That's one way to phrase it.
I like it. All right, coming up in a minute, we're going to have Matt Taylor at the top of the hour, talk a little bit more about the Colts and Dolphins there. You can change your mind again between the next 25 minutes, James.
You know what? You know me. I don't lock in things until kickoff, so I got time to flip-flop all I want to. Okay, I'll play both sides. I'm the kid who goes to the game, and I have on both jerseys just in case, one of them loses.
All right, bombshell announcement from the Indiana Fever last night and their star player. We'll tell you all about that next as we continue. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Happy Friday morning to you here on the Fan Morning Show. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd. I'm Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton with us today. This is maybe my favorite text of the morning, guys, from Maine Stand Up. I'll just ask the question that he asked. Any of you doing the Colts 5K tomorrow?
Oh, we got Caleb
from Ball State in the studio today is doing the Colts 5K.
Caleb, thanks for running for us, man.
Yeah, no problem. I'm doing it with my dad, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Nicely done.
Can I still sign up?
Should be a great morning for
Let's go.
I heard finish on the 50, so that'll be pretty cool. So
yeah,
I've never done this before.
Kevin, safe to say that you and I are done with 5Ks at this point in time.
Well,
could anything motivate you to go?
I don't know if Maddie would laugh harder at me telling her that I'm going to do 5K or if I'm going to leave the family for like 2 hours to run. I'm laughing at myself imagining her reaction to that. So yes, there will be no 5K there.
Yeah, there were many 5 and 10Ks in my past, but I know my knees are up to me. Unless I could do a 5K if my youngest son, who's interested occasionally in things like that, if he said, "Dad, would you run one with me?" I'd probably do that. But that's about it.
We got our punishment for the fantasy.
Punishment for the fantasy league. Loser has to run a 5K.
Did you guys see? I think you guys were tagged in it yesterday. Listener Aaron tweeted at us and said, "I'd like to know a unique take from each of you on how to sell hope for the 2025 Colts." So,
oh man,
Jeff, start with you. Selling hope on the 2025 Colts season. Go.
Terrific wide receiver group. Maybe not a bunch of all pros, but really good wide receivers. A terrific running game. Have no idea what the quarterback is going to be. A rebuilt defense.
Selling hope.
Right. A rebuilt defense with a brand new defensive coordinator, so at least that's different from last year. So you got a different quarterback from last year. You got a different secondary from last year. You got a different defensive coordinator. Latu is expected to make a leap this year. You drafted a guy on the edge as well that I think by the end of the season will be contributing. So I do think there's hope that this team can win. I've said it all along, 9 or 10 games, because I think there's decent personnel here.
James Boyd?
I'm going to say my hope that I'm selling is because of what I've seen in the past. Hey, you know what, guys? We have been right there with some mid teams in recent years. Our quarterbacks were not that great. We don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be great. I know it's supposed to be a pep talk right now, but we know the pieces around him can do some damage. We're going to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor. He's going to have an all-pro season, and we're going to ride that running back into the playoffs. There you go.
Kevin?
That's my elevator pitch right there.
You guys have echoed a lot of what I would say. Best pass-catching group in the last decade. A tight end that just did things we haven't seen in college football in 30 years. Investments in the secondary that we have hardly ever seen. A defensive system that I think finally causes an ounce or two of stress on an opposing quarterback. And your quarterback and your kicking game can't get any worse.
Agree. I think we're all pretty much on the same page.
I believe that last part, though.
We have somebody in the YouTube chat, Alex Lover, and he was saying, Jeff, your sell should be a breakout year from A.D. Mitchell.
Well, I'm there. I don't know how many more times I need to say that. I'm there. I mentioned that as a group of terrific wide receivers.
Boom. There's your hope for the 2025 season while the Colts will go out there and kick some butt.
Let's do it.
It's kind of a nerdy thing, and Mike Tirico pointed this out last night, but I do think kicker for Sunday really, really matters. It is a 1.5-point spread this game. The Colts have a kicker in Spencer Schrader, who has kicked 5 field goals in the NFL, none of them longer than 50 yards.
Look good in the preseason.
Riley Patterson. I think regular season ball is different than preseason ball. Regular season, and for Riley Patterson last year, he kicked for 3 teams. He is not Miami's normal kicker. Their normal kicker, Jason Sanders, is very good, and he's hurt. So Riley Patterson, they signed to the practice squad a couple weeks ago. They'll elevate him. He was 4 of 7 around the NFL last year. And for those that missed it last night, Mike Tirico shared that the NFL is allowing teams to bring their own K-balls, the old kicking balls, to games. And Pat McAfee, I saw, chimed in on Twitter. He thinks that matters a whole lot. We've heard it about quarterbacks. You know, Peyton Manning had this big ritual of, getting the footballs ready that he wanted to throw on Sunday in a game. They've allowed that for quarterbacks. Kickers, they have not, but now they are. And McAfee thought it would make a 10 to 15-yard difference, which is a huge number when he said that. So, again, kicking in the NFL, it always matters. As much as we hate to talk about it, it's a league filled with parity. And, the Colts had 8 wins last year, all by one possession. So you don't think kicking matters, good and bad? So I think that could be a big, big storyline for Sunday.
Coming your way, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon right here at 93.5, 107.5. The Fan. NFL season kicked off last night, and not 5 minutes after kickoff, Caitlin Clark posts on her social media that not happy news. I will not be playing again in 2025. We had a couple people on text like, interesting timing, just after people put down their deposits for playoff tickets. I don't know if that has – I'm not a big conspiracy theorist guy, so I don't know about that.
I did hear from several Fever fans really upset.
There's a lot of them on the text line.
About the public timing of all of this and just the day-to-day, and then day-to-day turns into 2 months. For what it's worth, and again, the Fever initially downplayed this, but that bone bruise in Phoenix that she suffered in trying to make a comeback a couple weeks ago – did that? I don't know.
Maybe just set everything back would be my guess.
Very vague. And I think the Caitlin Clark thing is difficult because she's got a team. She's got a team around her. That team around her is going to control the message a whole lot more than probably the Fever will. So welcome to stars and dealing with stars. And she is as big of a star as you're going to find for a singular sport. So, just
weird timing right after the start of the NFL season, just odd.
Genuinely, I feel really bad for fans that spent a lot of money thinking, hoping, planning around it. I get injuries are things you can't control, but 2 months ago it's day to day, and now here she is having missed the last 2 months.
And we just hope she's fully healthy and ready to go next year, that this isn't something that lingers throughout her career. So that's the other thing, but good luck to her. And the Fever, of course, play tonight at the Fieldhouse. They'll take on the Chicago team that's playing without their star player, who's out with suspension tonight, JB.
Angel Reese picked up her 8th technical foul. That is the limit before you get suspended for at least one game in the WNBA. And like I said on yesterday's show, I did not think that technical foul was going to get rescinded because when you hit people in the face, that is usually grounds for a technical.
Backhands to the face, not accepted?
Not accepted, at least in the WNBA. I don't think of any league that will really accept that.
All right, 7:15 airtime for the Fan pregame show with Eddie Garrison tonight, 7:30 tip over at the Fieldhouse. Chicago Sky taking on the Indiana Fever. Got an idea for you on Sunday morning if you're looking for something to do before you go to the game. You're coming downtown, getting ready to go to the game. Party with us before kickoff at the Ultimate Colts Tailgate downtown at the Slippery Noodle. Sunday, September 7th, 9:30 a.m. That's day after tomorrow. The Fan, Neutral, Jack Daniels, they've got your game day covered. We're going to have $6 Neutral Seltzers, Mick Ultra, Bud Light for $5.75, Jack Cocktails for $7, Bloody Marys, Marias, Margaritas for $8, and $6 Neutral Seltzers just for you, along with just unbelievably delicious food over there at the Slippery Noodle to fuel your fandom. Play tailgate games, and I'll be there at 9:30, so say hi to me and get you all hyped up for the big game. Don't miss it. Go to 1075thefan.com for more information, but I will see you at the Slippery Noodle, 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning. Coming up next, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts stops by. What does he think this game looks like? That's coming your way on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. to TRH, and then they're going to be where did he say he was going to be? They were Beech Grove this morning.
WTHR.
WTHR. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Beech Grove Cecina. SCECINA.
I like it. And we got the Colts coming up on Sunday afternoon, which brings us to our next order of business. The one, the only, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts. One of my favorite people, Matt Taylor, joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Good Friday morning. Are you ready for some football, Matt Taylor?
I was up at 4:30 this morning, fellas. Drove down to the stadium, was hyping everything up on some local TV stations. Now I'm talking to you guys. We're Blue in the Canal later on this morning. Downtown, Blue's going to be there. And then I don't know what the hell I'm doing this afternoon to calm myself down. But this morning, I am hyped. I am ready to go. I am a Colts machine. I am a tornado of optimism right now for this team. And I cannot wait for 70,000 packed strong at Lucas Oil Stadium on Sunday. I am chomping at the bit. Let's go.
I love to hear that, Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. And we just had this discussion on the show. If you're selling the fans on optimism, what are you telling them to have them hyped up for this year, which, again, they've been in the thick of it every year in this AFC South? What can help this team get over the hump and get into the dance?
It's a great question, and I've said this so many times over the offseason. The Colts know what time it is, right? They missed the playoffs 4 years in a row, and in 3 of those 4 seasons, they've won at least 8 games. And so they're banging on the door, they're knocking on the door, but they're on the outside looking in, right? Whatever analogy you want to use, on the other side of the fence, NFL purgatory. But that's why, they made such a sense of urgency about this quarterback competition, dating back to the Combine when they announced their plan to bring somebody in to push Anthony Richardson, to give them some more consistency at the quarterback position. I think Daniel Jones definitely does that, especially if you get the high-end version of Daniel Jones, that 2022 version of him. And, I think it's very objective to say that, his weaponry here with the Colts is way more powerful than he ever had consistently with the Giants, right? He's got Jonathan Taylor and an offensive line, and he's got 3 receivers last year who went over 800 yards, and they drafted Tyler Warren, and then defensively, a new scheme, and just going all out, to make sure that side of the ball works the way it needs to work under Louis Anarumo, from, the back to the front in the secondary, Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum. And even when the depth does get tested in the offseason and training camp, you don't just sit around, you don't just hope. Now you go out, man, you bang that door down again, you bring in Xavier Howard, you make a trade, you get in Mekhi Blackman. So they definitely understand how that side of the ball is supposed to work, and they need the horses, no pun intended, to make that happen. But also, too, I'm just, it's time. I think everybody understands, like, the core group of these players have underperformed, especially on defense. Like, there's too much individual talent on that side of the ball, even if it is a new scheme, right? The Gus Bradley version compared to now Louis Anarumo. I think the guys on defense have held themselves accountable for their failures the last couple of years on that side of the ball. Again, Pro Bowl players, Pro Bowl caliber players in all 3 levels of that defense, just way too much talent on that side of the ball. I don't care what scheme you're running. They shouldn't be finishing 25th in scoring and 30th in opponent completion percentage and all of these different metrics that you need to be good in to have a good defense. They just haven't been able to do that the last couple of years. So I think guys are coming in with a chip on their shoulder, for lack of a better term, get the dump button ready. I think they're pissed off, and I'm excited to see how it kind of manifests itself coming up on Sunday.
That is voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Matt, I have been out in public a lot lately, and I cannot tell you how many people have come up to me and said, I am looking forward to Matt Taylor's Tidbits when we get to Fridays at 9 o'clock in season. So with that, you hear it in the background. Taylor's Tidbits, the encyclopedia. He will give us all of it coming up on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Actually, probably pregame starting at noon. But
I love it.
What tidbits do we have for week 1 from the voice of the Colts, Matt Taylor, Colts and Dolphins?
That music is back, baby. Music to my ears. Let's get it rolling. Taylor's tidbit number 1. We know about the focal point of this offense this year. It's going to be Jonathan Taylor. Shane Steichen said that they're still going to run the offense through the ground game. Jonathan Taylor last year over 1,400 yards, but he averaged over 21 carries per game. And that workhorse status was really accentuated down the stretch last year, the final 8 games of the year. He had 206 total touches in basically the last half of the season. Now, the other 2 backs on the roster at the time in that stretch, those guys would be Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson. And the last 8 games of the season, those guys handled the ball just 23 times total, 15 touches for Sermon, 8 for Goodson. Taylor's workload in the final 8 games of last year, if you extrapolate that over the course of 17 games in 2025, that would equal, based on my math, 438 carries for the season. Yikes, boys. Yikes. That is not good. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is obviously top 5 in the league, but I don't think you want to be giving the ball to anybody 400-plus times in a season. So I'm really eager to see what the role is right out of the gate for a guy like DJ Giddens. What's Tyler Goodson going to give you on offense from a percentage of the pie standpoint? And, you just got to be able to – I mean, Jonathan Taylor's got to be the focal point. There's no question about it. But he can't be the only focal point, right? There's got to be more balance within this offense. You guys have talked about it. I've talked about it. You got to exploit the middle of the field better. You got to be able to get your shots or have the threats of the shots in the chunk deep ball game, in the passing game, to spread out that defense sideline to sideline. Then I think you really got something with Jonathan Taylor being able to reach his full potential while balancing out the pass and the big play ability that you have on the outside, specifically to guys like A.D. Mitchell and Alec Pierce last year, who led the NFL in yards per catch.
Are you thinking DJ Giddens is the first man up, or would a healthy Tyler Goodson be first man up there?
I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say I don't know, and I might just be contradicting myself because, again, I think over the course of 17 games, you want to focus on Jonathan Taylor, but you also need to balance out the passing game too. But in this game, with so many unknowns, with Goodson banged up with the elbow, although he has been practicing this week, but still a little bit of a question mark for Sunday's game. And then with Giddens, he's a rookie. He's never played in a game, so you don't know what to expect. I'm just assuming here that it would be a little bit of a stretch to say that the Colts are going to give him, 8 to 10 carries right out of the gate. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Jonathan Taylor get, 20, 22, 23 carries on Sunday. But then over the course of the early season, I think that number could go down based on the amount of trust that the coaching staff and the guys on offense would continue to have and see from what they get out of DJ Giddens based on his productivity.
All right, that was quite the tease. I know Taylor Tidbit number 2 will even exceed our expectations.
All right, here we go. We got the Dolphins coming up. Tua Tagovailoa, he's back on offense. He's missed the last 2 games with the Colts, or his first 2 opportunities to play against the Colts with concussions. So this is going to be his first start ever against the Colts. And last year, the Dolphins went 6-5 with Tua in the lineup. They averaged 24 points per game, but Miami was 2-4 without him in the lineup, and they averaged only 13 points per game. And they've really struggled over the course of time. I mean, Tua's concussion, his problems staying on the field in terms of head injuries have been well chronicled. He's missed 15 games the last couple of years. But the thing that really stands out to me is that, the playmakers just really struggle when he's not in there. I mean, he's a great quarterback, but there's a big-time drop-off. So you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Neither of those guys has scored a receiving touchdown without Tua Tagovailoa as the starting quarterback since the 2022 season. So there's a drastic impact when he's in the lineup.
That's wild to me.
That might be the craziest thing you've said for a while.
Yeah, well, I'm full of them, boys. I'm full of crazy stuff. You know that.
You just got to talk to Matt Taylor more often, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's the deal. I mean, Tua he's statistically one of the best quarterbacks in the game. He's a quick timing, in rhythm quarterback. He likes to get those completions that keep you on schedule down and distance-wise. 2nd and 4, 3rd and 2. In the last 3 years, in consecutive order, he's led the NFL in passer rating, passing yards, and completion percentage. A quarterback like Tua in years past against this Colts defense would have been the Colts defense nightmare. But now they've got a new scheme. You're going to be playing a little bit more aggressive, especially on the outside, maybe some press man. I don't know if you're going to see a shadow job tomorrow with Charvarius Ward on Jalen Waddle. But this is going to be a huge test for just like how different and how aesthetically different this Colts defense looks going up against a a premier quarterback in Tua who's healthy. You see him right out of the gate. And again, in years past, this would have been the kryptonite offense against the Colts defense.
How much do you think Laiatu will factor into that timing when it comes to just putting some pressure on Tua? Because we know Latu, he's a first-round pick, and the expectations are high.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think obviously he has to have, not only on Sunday, but just for the season, he's got to have a big season. The Colts need someone desperately to turn into a stud. They need somebody of that group that when the game's on the line and the double team and the focus of the offensive line is, shifting or shading towards that one guy in a huge moment, that one guy still needs to go out there and make a play and disrupt the timing. And so, for this game, though, it's going to be tough because Tua, like I said, he's a quick rhythm, balls out quick type of a quarterback, high completion percentage guy. It's more on this game, I think it's more on the disruption responsibility of the secondary, to disrupt timing on routes and route combinations. And we used to call it in college when I played, we used to call reroute guys, right? Make them get off their path on a reroute by, one or two steps to disrupt the timing of the play and the vision of Tua Tagovailoa. So that's what I think is huge on Sunday. Yes, the pass rush has to be there, but with the ball getting out so quickly from Tua, the secondary has to do their part and maybe then some to disrupt the timing from the passing game from Miami.
Matt Taylor, voice of the Indianapolis Colts on the Payless Liquors hotline. Player not named, the new player not named Tyler Warren, that will make Colts fans the happiest.
Ooh, well, I think it's got to be Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has to make everybody happy in order to be happy on Sunday. I heard you guys earlier talking about the stat line for him. He just needs to go out there and be himself. And he also understands that, he needs to complete 60 to 65% of his passes, stay within the offense, and that's why he's there. It's to be, the consistent quarterback in terms of ball placement, overall accuracy, pre-snap recognition is the biggest thing. They love his ability to do that, to be able to get out of bad plays into good plays at the line of scrimmage, interpret what the secondary is doing. But he also understands, too, he's been doing this a long time, and he is, going into, I think, Sunday, his 71st career start. Inevitably, in any NFL game, when the stakes are high, any quarterback has to win from the pocket, right? You can ride Jonathan Taylor, and he can go, over 150 yards in this game potentially, but inevitably he's got to make 4 to 5 throws on Sunday that flat out win you a game. And those are kind of sprinkled throughout the course of a 60-minute game. They might be in the first quarter when you need a big third down conversion, or they might come in the second half when you need to, needle the ball in a tight window inside the red zone, or get a big play down the sideline to Alec Pierce to set you up for a scoring opportunity. Those are the big plays, crunch time, clutch throws and completions that every quarterback in the NFL has to make to win a football game. And so that's the responsibility of a quarterback. Try to stay within himself, but also know when those moments are there, Daniel Jones has to step up, has to deliver for this offense.
Always good to talk to you, Mate. We're welcome here every Friday and even beyond. And 239-1070, the text line. What would your text line name be? I'm just curious.
Oh, man. Well, I probably try to stay under the radar in the weeds a little bit. I don't know. I might go with Colts Gremlin 5 or something.
Wow. That was great off the top of your head.
I know.
Yeah, the Kevin Bowen Trollinator. I don't know. I try to stay above the fray a little bit when you talk about YouTube chat responses and Twitter DMs. It can bring out the worst in people, but we try to have fun
Sometimes
with it. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We're not digging ditches. We're very fortunate to be able to do what we do and have fun with it. And so really excited for Sunday.
Always good to talk to you, Mate. Thank you so much, and have a great game on Sunday afternoon.
See you, Matt.
All right, guys. Be well.
There he is, the one, the only, Matt Taylor on the Payless Liquors hotline.
James, I kind of thought on the Mooney Ward shadow front, I kind of thought when those would be deployed, which again, Lou Anarumo's expressed, they feel comfortable doing that with Mooney Ward. I kind of pictured taller, bigger wideouts, like Cortland Sutton, for example, next week with Denver. He's a little bigger. I think that matches kind of Mooney's style. And Denver has nobody else from a wideout standpoint. Whereas with Miami, my concern would be, first off, Tyreek Hill is speedy can be. I think no matter what, you need help over the top. I don't think it's someone you shadow man. And if you're isolating Mooney, Ward, and man, now all of a sudden Miami says, wait a minute, does that mean Xavier Howard, who hasn't played football in a year plus, is the one that's exposed?
Run straight.
We're going to go with Jalen Waddle, at him. So I guess I'd be a little surprised if he I don't know, maybe third down and red zone, you tap into some of that, but do you think they'll shadow?
I don't think you should.
Tyreek
because if you do shadow, man, you're going to essentially leave Xavier Howard on an island. And I get you might have help over the top, but I'm not a football guru by any means. But if you're telling me that if Javarius Ward shadows Jalen Waddle, that's going to open up an opportunity for Tyreek Hill to have his shot at any other cornerback on the roster, including one who hasn't played in over a year, I'd like those chances. I mean, Tyreek Hill, we can talk about leadership qualities, some of the stuff he does off the field that is questionable. On the field, he is still one of the scariest players. I mean, every year we have to do a survey for The Athletic asking guys, like, who's the most dangerous player you go up against, best player you go up against. Tyreek Hill's name still comes up.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that when you're watching the Miami Dolphins play anybody, he just is moving faster. I mean, we all know he's fast, but you just visually see him moving faster than everyone all the time. Just constant.
I mean, he's built a Hall of Fame career. That's what he's done.
It's crazy. All right, it's a Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton. And let's check it down, guys.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Still tough news from late last night, late in the day, not late last night, but Caitlin Clark posting to social media that she will not be returning to the floor in 2025. She's missed 19 straight games since July 15th and missed a couple of games even before that. And James, just the 37% shooting from the field, just very unlike Caitlin Clark. Just felt like she was never physically right at any point this year.
No, she missed the preseason opener, I believe, with some lower or some calf, quad strain. And so tough break for her, tough break for the team. But ultimately, I just hope that when we look up 5-10 years from now, we can say that was one blip on the radar rather than the story of your career.
And Kevin Bowen, it's down now to Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell to lead a group that's been resilient. But, man, 5 season-ending injuries for the Fever. Now, it's going to be tough.
Despite that, they are still a 14-point favorite tonight against the Chicago Sky. No Angel Reese. They've dominated the Sky over the last couple of years. And a Fever win with a Sparks loss. I believe the Sparks are at Atlanta. That would go a long way in clinching one of the final 2 playoff spots. So big night for playoff standings for the Fever.
All right, and football is back in the news. High school football later on tonight. A bunch of matchups we were talking about with Operation Football's Dominic Miranda a little while ago. What is your favorite tonight on the schedule?
Yeah, he's at Beech Grove in Cecina. I know that is one that a lot of people are looking forward to. And Greg Rexhaw we had on earlier. He's over on the west side. That is Ben Davis and Pike. Roncalli Chittard, always a juicy matchup there. Mount Vernon, Greenfield Central, some attention. Park Tudor, Shortridge. Westfield, Zionsville up there. A little Hamilton, Boone County action. Fishers, Noblesville, Avon at HSE. Franklin Central, can they test Brownsburg at all there? So some great matchups and an awesome night weather-wise here in the Circle City.
Some great matchups. James, I'm looking forward to seeing how that Avon-Hamilton Southeastern game plays out. Both teams 2-0 so far.
Yeah, it's a huge game. And, again, this is the time of year where weather's still good. You're going to have a lot of themed crowds from the high schoolers. I told you a couple weeks ago I went out there. It was a rodeo theme, and over at Warren Central they had horses, live horses on the ground. So you never know what to expect.
That's awesome.
That's terrific.
It was awesome. It was cool.
All right, so that's coming up later on. Tonight, last night in the National Football League, Game 1 in the books, Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Dallas Cowboys 24-20. The start was wild in Philadelphia at the Link. Everybody's celebrating the Super Bowl championship, light shows, boys to men out there. Everybody's doing their thing. Opening kickoff happens while the Eagles are carting off a member of their special teams on a stretcher. Jalen Carter, their all-pro defensive lineman, spitting into the jersey of Dak Prescott and gets kicked out of the game. That's how we started last night.
What would you do for punishment?
I think it's one more game after this. I think you had it right. They kicked him out last night, but I think one more game sends a little bit of a message.
Yeah, I would say multiple games.
Yeah.
I guess you count.
That would be
last
2.
Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got to suspend you. That is just stupid. And then what do you even say to your team? like I said, Philly media, you're supposed to be some of the toughest crowds around. You're asking the guy, were you hyped for the game? Apparently a little too hyped. What are you doing?
Jalen Hurts did have a nice game last night. Threw for 152 yards, but he carried 14 times for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, 60 yards and a touchdown as well. It was a wild game, 24-20. Neither team had punted until 4:44 left in the third quarter, and then they had to have a 1-hour lightning delay before it was all finally done well after midnight last night. Later on tonight, Kansas City Chiefs will play the Los Angeles Chargers, but you got to have YouTube to watch that one, Kevin Bowen.
Yep, YouTube tonight. And again, last night, can you imagine? What was the over-under mark? 47.5? So rain delay occurs, 24-20. My math says that's 44 points. There's, 4 minutes to go in the third quarter?
Yep.
And not another point is scored. Vegas, baby.
Well, as Jay Quarry always says, they're not being built off, winning.
Amen to that.
Land of lost
7
wages.
Scores in the first 7 possessions. I couldn't believe how much Colts flavor was out there last night. First off, Eberflus. I totally forgot he was with Dallas, Mark.
I didn't.
Brian Schottenheimer, former Andrew Luck position coach. Kevin Patullo is calling plays here. I think at one point he was like Frank Reich's quality control guy. And obviously Nick Sirianni. There's a lot of Colts flavor in the old NFC East.
Colts, speaking of them, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Lucas Oil Stadium. Did we ever find out whether the roof is going to be open or closed?
They usually don't announce it until the day of.
Yeah. So we'll wait and see on that one. Our pregame festivities start at 9 o'clock. The ride to kickoff with JMV. Colts Network takes over at 10. Greg Rakestraw has you covered after the game at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. We can tell you Major League Baseball later on today. The Cubs taking on the Washington Nationals. Hope still alive for that National League Central, Mark. Still alive.
Still getting the wild card.
Reds will open a series this weekend against the New York Mets. The Cardinals are at home against the San Francisco Giants. White Sox start a road series with the Detroit Tigers a little bit later on tonight. And the Indianapolis Indians will be in Columbus tonight for a 7:05 start. Checkdown is brought to you by Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365 has it all. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right, we'll continue to talk the weekend full of football. Caitlin Clark shutting it down for the season. We'll take a look at the text line at 239-1070. It's all next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I'm always in the mood for a little Van Halen. Start things off. That's right in my wheelhouse right there. I'll take that. Colts season starts on Sunday. I got a great idea for you. I'll be hanging out over at the Slippery Noodle beginning at 9:30. A bunch of others are going to be there as well. It's the Colts fans party on as the ultimate Colts tailgate gets started for the season. Slippery Noodle, downtown, Sunday morning, 9:30. We're teaming up with Neutral, Jack Daniels. They got your game day covered. We'll have $6 Neutral seltzers, Mick Ultra, Bud Light for $5.75, Jack cocktails for $7, Bloody Marys, Marias, margaritas for $8, $6 Neutral seltzers just for you, along with the delicious food at the Slippery Noodle to get you ready to go for the game. Play tailgate games, and I'll be there beginning at 9:30. Get you all hyped up for the big game. Don't miss it. Go to 1075thefan.com for more info. I'm looking forward to that. I guess the only thing missing is Slippery Noodle on Sunday morning be blue. That's about it. Other than that, it's all going to be good. You guys can come by on your way to the stadium if you want to.
That $8 marg, I don't know if my Wish TV appearance will go very well with that. But that does sound pretty tasty.
Just get you lubed up a little bit. Relax.
Slippery Noodle, always a great stop.
Whoa.
Why do you have to go there?
Nah, ain't no going there. Come on, man. Come on.
That's an old school saying about getting alcohol in your system.
I didn't know that.
That's an old school saying for something else.
I was about to say, I ain't never
that's
heard
why
that
I know.
saying.
I should immediately know that if there's anything even remotely
you ain't
can be
putting that
taken
smut
the
on
other
us.
way.
And the audio
You're the one
Easter
who went there.
forever now.
Yeah.
James Boyd will try to transition. I thought your piece on Daniel Jones, very nicely done in The Athletic. There's not a lot you're going to get from Daniel Jones, so I thought you leading in with a little basketball aspect to it.
Yes.
Was very well done. I will say this, and I was listening to Daniel was on with JJ Stankovitz and Colts.com earlier this week, and if there's one thing that I think Daniel Jones is a little pissed off about, I don't think he loves the old narrative of, can you throw the football deep?
Good.
And I'm very curious how that aspect of the Colts offense will be in 2025. He's bothered by that question. He's bothered by that. Now, every time we say narrative, I feel like it's not met with substance, which, James, you know this full well. You have plenty of substance to back up the reason for that question. Daniel Jones has never been a deep ball thrower with effectiveness in his NFL career. So, again, I might have PTSD from watching Notre Dame's offense go side to side, side to side. I'm like, guys, you're not playing sideline to sideline. You're playing end zone to end zone on Sunday night. There's only so much horizontal passing game you can do. So, Daniel Jones is not for lack of arm strength. And I'm just very interested to see how they will dial up deep shots, when will they do that, and how effective they will be.
Yes, I think it's less of an ability to do it and more so a willingness to do it.
It's a good way to put it.
And the way it worked in New York when he did have his best season in 2022, they didn't really take a bunch of deep shots, and it was more, timely sorts of moments or explosions on different plays. But to consider him the same level of deep threat, even as a guy like Joe Flacco was last year, is not true. He just doesn't do it. And I think talking to our guy at The Athletic, Dan Duggan, who covers the Giants, he was telling me that early on in his career, he believes that the big play prowess kind of got beaten out of him. And it was like, all right, well, here's how we're going to win. And we're going to do it in this very conservative fashion. And there is just less risk taking involved there because, we know when you throw it deep, there isn't a high percentage that will work. But if you can hit on, one of three of those throughout a game, that could be a huge difference in the amount of success you have on offense. So very curious to see. But yes, in the story that I wrote as well, I was trying to find something about this guy that I didn't know, and I found out that Daniel Jones is quite the hooper. It sounds like, as it typically is, Kevin, you've been in the locker room, the trash talk usually starts over with the DBs and the wide receivers.
And it always revolves around basketball.
Yes, and the eventual QB1, this was back in the spring. This was way back in OTAs. The eventual QB1 said, hey, wait a second, I want in. And so they went to Butler, and I know you all might have saw the video a few months back of them having a shooting contest, but Jalen Jones told me this is a totally different day. He was like, you know what, we're in the locker room, everybody's saying they can hoop. Let's go see who's just talking. And he was like, when he went out there, James, he was hitting us with some Tim Duncan, some Dirk Nowitzki.
Some great footwork.
Yeah, some Kevin Garnett. And I was like,
banking
what?
Shots
yeah,
off the
he was
glass.
like, he's a elite post player.
Now, the Colts have some pretty good quarterback basketball players, right? Riley Leonard?
Yeah, I believe Riley.
Anthony
I don't
Richardson?
know. I believe if my reporting is correct, which I trust, obviously, that Daniel Jones was probably the only quarterback there that day because it didn't sound like it was a big group of guys.
Got it.
But it also shows you on a more serious note, this is a guy fresh to a new team, willing to do something to bond with his teammates. And this wasn't all receivers. It wasn't all, offensive line people that are going to, be in his wheelhouse. He was doing this with defensive, players, defensive backs, and other people like that. So it sounds like he had a good time. When I asked him about it, he kind of downplayed his skill set and said, cracked a little smile. And he said, I just was happy to be out there with the guys. And I'm like, can I get a little bit more, please? Just tell me something about your hoop game. But it sounds like
he was like that at Duke, or do you think the New York media just chewed him up and spit him out?
Yes, I think that happens.
So
so he was not like that at Duke?
I think he probably was. I think he was a little more outgoing.
I have no idea. That's why.
I don't think he was. I don't think he's ever been like this big, outgoing, public-facing personality. But I think he was more relaxed at Duke. And man, I don't care who you are. You go to the New York media right away, they're going to chew you up and spit you out.
Well,
man.
It's hard to say how he was at Duke since I didn't watch any of his Duke interviews, to be honest with you. So, was he that subdued? Was he that reserved? But I can say when you join the league and you go to New York and you're following Eli Manning, who is very fun now, he was nothing to the media when he played. So that was a blueprint that he was kind of following. It was like, okay, I'm going to do everything Eli Manning does. Eli Manning, again, was very boring in the media. This guy we're seeing now, I'm like, who is that? Peyton Manning showed more personality throughout his playing career than Eli Manning did. So I think that is part of it. And like you said, not having the success, not a lot to smile about, taking a lot of punches from, people from all sides, and not to absolve him because he has to own his poor play too. But I think it's a mixture of all those things.
Week 1 of the National Football League, we'll find out what Daniel Jones and the Colts can do on Sunday afternoon. As I was looking at the slate last couple of days and thinking about what I might want to do for either fantasy purposes or maybe lay a $10 bill down on one game or another here, it occurred to me, and we all kind of know this, but if you add it up, it's crazy. A third of all the teams in the NFL will be rocking with brand new quarterbacks to them this year. Think about that. That's crazy turnover in 1 year, is it?
I mean, this
11 guys will start at quarterback this year that were not the starting quarterbacks for their team at the beginning of the season a year ago.
Well, a lot of it, I think, has to do with, and I was reading about this the other day, like the NFL is not a developmental league. Like we think that you draft a player, you probably should obviously have a developmental plan if you get someone in the first round like a Jordan Love, like Lamar Jackson, like Patrick Mahomes, where you want to develop them, but usually in those cases you have guys ahead of them that are still pretty good. But for the most part, this is not a league where you get a whole lot of time to figure it out. And that's why when you look at some of the guys who have not panned out well, even though they have all the physical traits like Trey Lance, like Anthony Richardson, their snaps, I think, matter. Even a guy like Cam Newton, he was a great, great athlete, and he talked about this last year when Anthony Richardson got benched. He mentioned how him just playing JUCO football and being the QB1 in JUCO was so essential to him being the guy.
Yeah, because you're leading the team.
You're leading. You're getting reps. You're playing. You look at some of the guys who haven't panned out. It's because they haven't played. I mean, Anthony Richardson has hardly played. You go back to his high school days. I believe Anthony, if I'm not mistaken, was only a full-time starter 1 year of high school. And then you go 1 year at Florida, essentially, and then you go over the last two years, going to his third. He's played essentially 1 year of football. So that's 3 years of playing versus other guys who, they might be older, but they're Bo Nix, for example. He's older, but, man, playing helps a ton.
When you bring up Nix, somebody will do it next week when the Colts play the Broncos, but Bo Nix is a second-year quarterback. Richardson is third-year quarterback. It will be wild to see how many snaps Bo Nix has had since his high school career versus Anthony Richardson. And Bo Nix's high school, they were on ESPN. He was around it, from I guess as big of a level as you can be from a high school standpoint. The NFL does it every year, guys. 4 new playoff teams. Let me throw some teams at you. I need 4 new playoff teams.
I'm going to start with the Atlanta Falcons, just because I'm looking at them right now.
Okay, I was going to throw some teams at you just because if you guys can remember the 14 playoff teams, that's quite impressive. Bengals, Dolphins, Colts, Jags, Patriots, Jets. Anybody in the AFC?
Bengals.
It is. I'm going to go Bengals. Joe Burrow, does he have an MVP level season? And does the defense do anything to help them? Lord have mercy.
Like, they have to be better than they were a year ago, right? They just have to.
Oh, they don't have to be. They didn't do anything to really improve.
It can't get any worse.
Arguably the hardest division of football. Anybody else in the AFC, or should we move over to the NFC? Again, Bengals, Dolphins, Colts, Jags, Patriots, Jets.
Call me crazy. I still think the Colts have a puncher's chance here because of all the talent that they have around the quarterback.
We'll throw the Colts in there. All right, NFC teams. Cowboys, Bears, Falcons, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals. I'm with you, Jeff. I agree on the Falcons.
Maybe 49ers, too. And I will say this. Before everything got crazy with the weather last night, Dak Prescott was balling last night. And really, CeeDee Lamb had a couple of drops down the stretch. They could have won that game.
I thought Dak was really good.
Yeah, he was terrific.
Yeah, and the thing about them is, okay, if he's really good and CeeDee Lamb is really good, the drops were bad. Why did you get rid of one of the best defensive players in the league if you're trying to win now? Just so dumb.
I heard something this morning. You're right about that, but also between Dak and CD, had they signed Micah Parsons, something crazy like a third or even more than that of their entire payroll would have gone to 3 guys on a 53-man roster. And maybe as the contract negotiations went on and on and on, and the price started going up, Cowboys were just like, man, we can't afford this and have a team at the same time.
No, I think that's a big excuse for Dallas. Now, the numbers you just threw out there are correct, but that's why you pay guys early. You could have paid Micah way before you paid him. You could have paid CeeDee Lamb way before you paid him.
That's the mistake, yeah.
So,
Again,
Jeff, you go Bengals, Colts, 49ers, Falcons. James, anybody you like? Those NFC teams again. Cowboys, Bears, Falcons, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals.
I'm going to go 49ers because they're pretty much, in my eyes, a perennial playoff team.
Christian
without
McCaffrey
having
already on the injury
I was just going to
report.
say, he's already got the calf strain going on.
I have seen that, but in Brock Purdy, I trust. And
Seahawks, Cardinals are interesting to me.
Yeah, I might go Cardinals.
Do we believe in Sam Darnold at all after that year in Minnesota last year?
I'm very
I don't know if
skeptical.
I want to say that, but I don't know. Somebody in the West I feel like is going to go out there and win 9 games. NFC West, that is. And who is it? And I wouldn't rule out the Miami Dolphins. Again, who in the AFC East is the second best team?
You know who I don't trust for the Dolphins?
Is it the Patriots coming up?
Yeah.
Is it the Jets?
I don't trust Mike McDaniel. I don't know that he is.
He's been in the playoffs 2 out of 3 years.
Yeah.
If Tua can stay healthy, I think the Mike McDaniel.
High-key, they might get in.
Yeah,
I think we might be writing them off a little bit.
Which makes
early.
Sunday an even bigger game.
Good point.
I think if Tua can stay healthy, I think they are a legit team. I think people don't love how nerdy Mike McDaniel is.
I want to like him. I kind of liked him that first year, but I'm not so sure that he's got the staying power as head coach.
I think part of it is kind of similar to what the Colts are going through at a slightly higher scale because they've made the playoffs more recently, obviously. But it's, okay, if you get there, what are you going to actually do, though? And that's the apathy for Dolphins fans. It's not getting into the playoffs. It's like we haven't won a game in the playoffs in 24 years.
Remember like negative 10-degree game in Kansas City?
Yeah, you know what? Stephen Holder, our buddy over at ESPN, covers the Colts. He did a story on like the people that went out there without having like gloves and all that stuff, and they got like frostbitten hands and all these different bad things happened to them.
JMV was at Chiefs-Dolphins playoff
if
game?
I'm not mistaken, John, if you're listening, I'm pretty sure. Oh, Chiefs-Dolphins. No, remember that really cold game in Kansas City the Colts had a couple of years ago? That's the one I was thinking of.
JMV with the Dolphins shirt
on.
No. Up in section 524.
No, I was thinking Colts at Kansas City is what I originally thought you were talking about when remember that really, really cold game a few years ago.
And then we got to go to break. Last quick question. What is the coldest temperature that you are willing to sit through to watch your team?
Yeah, I mean, I did IU Notre Dame last year. I forget what it was exactly at kickoff, but that was about as cold as I'm probably willing to sit through. Remember that, Mark?
Oh, yeah. Coldest one I ever went to was Bears-Falcons when Michael Vick was still playing. It was a Sunday night game, and it was -10.
Yeah, it was definitely not -10.
There was
Dame,
ice
Indiana,
on literally where you stood. So as you were standing up, because you couldn't sit in your seat because it was so cold, as you stood, you were sliding around.
They had y'all signing waivers like, if you break your tailbone today. No, I'm just thinking about it because it was -27 with the wind chill for that Chiefs-Dolphins game, and there is just no way I would do that. I feel like humanly, I would want to keep all my limbs.
Several games growing up in the Mountain West, there's probably several games throughout the course of college and NFL of me growing up that were at 0 or below 0, and Daddy don't do that anymore.
Anything
I
under
ain't doing it anymore.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
Whoa, yeah. Whoa.
Probably the worst story I can tell you is Packers San Francisco 49ers playoff game several years ago. It was the game that Colin Kaepernick ran wild, and I was covering that for NFL Network. My wife is a shareholder of the Green Bay Packers, so we drove up together. She met some friends there. They sat outside. It was 4 degrees at kickoff and got way colder than that as the sun went down. I'm up there eating media buffet while she's down there with her friends freezing their tails off. Is that wrong or right? Yes. I was getting paid, though.
Man,
what do you want me to do?
This dude.
Take that, Mark.
I'm about to
you hear
say,
that?
all
His
right.
wife's a shareholder. What are you with the Bears?
Well, I don't own fake stock like the Packers. fans
Yeah.
claim
Well,
to do.
apparently it
No,
ain't
I'm
worth
a
much
shareholder.
if
You own
you
nothing.
can't even, get a little heat during a cold game.
Yeah, grab
Man.
a turkey leg or something.
Jeff was looking down there. Up there's
I believe they were.
Baby, I love you. Stay warm.
Another old-fashioned, please.
I believe they were well stocked up with alcohol by the end of that one. They were having a good time. It was fun. But no, yeah, a lot of cold games as a kid growing up. But like I said, I don't do that anymore, man. If it's going to be freezing cold, it better be like a championship game.
Anything under 20, you ain't going to see me.
All right. Coming up next, our picks for the weekend, specifically the Indianapolis Colts and the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk about it next as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Like that. Getting ready for Friday and the weekend.
I was about to say, if you want Grant to come through, I was playing some tunes now.
There we go.
He'll be singing 50 Cent by Monday morning.
We were talking about being in cold weather, and I had mentioned JMV being at that Kansas City game a few years ago. So I texted him during the break. I said, hey, weren't you at a really cold KC game a few years ago? Wasn't there trouble even getting there? He said, yes. We had 2 flights going, and only one got off the ground. Unfortunately, it was mine. I hate Arrowhead.
That's JMV to the core.
Colts at Chiefs this year out of their bye week. I got the Colts winning that game. I got 9-8 for the Colts. What do you guys got record-wise?
10-7. I'm sticking with it.
10-7, James Boyd?
I have 9-8. 9-8.
So we might be right back to Spencer Schrader, the difference between those records.
It's hard for me to pick 10 wins for this team.
I think Sunday is a huge game for whether there's going to be 9 or 10 wins, don't you?
Oh, I think it's massive. I think the first 6 are massive. You know, I mentioned at Kansas City coming out of the bye week. I think the schedule's really backloaded, and I think the road schedule is really difficult this year. They have some long road trips at the Rams, at the Chargers, at the Seahawks. Obviously, Berlin against the Falcons. So
I will have some bags under my eyes, but I am thankful.
But yeah, the goal on Sunday, try to end the streak. 0-10-1 in their last 11 Week 1 games. 4 times they've been a favorite. They lost one year to the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 1. The Jags ended up going 1-15 that season, that being their lone win. 6 of the 11 games decided by 1 score. That's the goal coming up on Sunday. Try to.
So we making picks. I made my pick earlier. I'm picking the Dolphins.
Well, he says Dolphins, but in 2 minutes he might say Colts again.
Colts again.
You know what?
No,
give me about 15 seconds before I flip. You can't. Let me lie in peace, okay? I'm picking the Dolphins, and the score will be 24-21.
I was going to say 27-24 Colts.
Kevin.
Any reasons, or are we just giving scores here?
Well, I mean, I
just gave my reason. They haven't won a season opener, and I want to say that Mike McDaniel and Tua, they're undefeated in season openers during their tenure.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I also think that they have a bit more continuity going on, at least offensively, and I just haven't seen the Colts yet.
Yeah. I think the Colts will be very efficient. I think they got a lot of weapons. I think Jonathan Taylor, you go back to some of the things Matt was saying about the second half of the season last year. I do still think he's a special talent. He's healthy. He's ready to go. I think they're going to lean on that. I do think the defense is going to be good enough to slow down the Miami Dolphins, not stop them completely. And I think Spencer Schrader is going to be a big key. If he can, like I said, if they score 27 points, that means at least a couple of field goals.
You know, as the weeks moved along, I have felt less confident about my pick. I've thought, boy, you can't. And when's the last time the Colts have beat a good quarterback? And I think that's
what was that list you had earlier this week?
I mean, it's a pathetic list. It's a list of quarterbacks you imagine starting them in fantasy football. You're looking for the opposing defense to play against these quarterbacks in fantasy football. But no Taylor, no Buckner in last year's matchup. I think Cam Bynum makes a big play in the fourth quarter. I'll say 23-20 Colts, but my confidence is waning.
I think that the Dolphins have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. They have Devin Echan. I don't know if the Colts secondary can keep up with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They are older in the secondary, and they have Tua, which they didn't have last time. So I'm taking the Dolphins to keep the streak alive and beat the Colts 26-20.
Mark, I think the A-Chain thing is a good one to bring up because the Colts linebacker group is a question mark. And if they can isolate him at times in space against those linebackers and force them to tackle.
What does Shaq say? Barbecue chicken.
I mean, I think he could legit, if he could go for 100.
But again, how healthy is he and how healthy is Hill?
Exactly.
That's they've barely practiced over the last month or so. What is their availability? But nonetheless, I'm just so glad next time we all come together, we can talk about an actual football game.
I'll have a reaction for you. I'll have some analysis of the game. It won't be all this, if
speculation.
Maybe. Could this be? No, it is. And so I'm excited for Sunday.
I also just don't know what Daniel Jones is going to be. That's the other big thing. I just don't know. So I have seen proven commodities on the Dolphins. I don't know what the Colts are bringing to the table.
Are you out here getting buckets at Butler? Colts will need a point guard. They need a quarterback. So let's see.
I need JT Tuimoloau out to break through, get a sack. Let's go.
I mean, that would be obviously a very helpful.
I don't know how much time he's going to get, but I'd like to see that happen. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the week. We get ready to go out to the stadium on Sunday. JMV gets it kicked off with the ride to kickoff beginning at 9. Then everything follows after that. Greg Rakestar will wrap it up at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan with the post game. Enjoy your weekend. Indiana plays tomorrow at noon against Kennesaw State right here on The Fan. Have a great weekend.